I built out
I built
a
the
combination of I think it's Nightbot, or it might be Nightbot, but I basically double I put it into our Twitch chat too, so the functionality
Super
works
cool.
within the bot within Twitch as well. I'm trying to find
Super
this
cool.
stupid thing.
No, Cole's
I
been.
have experience with
I
is
need
we
to.
have
There we
creators
go.
at Charlemagne in my clan.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
nice.
Yeah, so
No,
we get special treatment sometimes.
that's always cool.
He has us test some features that
Yeah,
we're working
beta
on.
tester.
Yeah. Um, Part of the reason why he joined our clan is he looked in our chats and saw how active we were with the bot.
Hey, Nate. That is a super, super helpful bot for sure. The Charlemagne. I use it.
Mhm.
There's so many Discords that I'm in that uses it. The thing
So he told me there's 80,000 Discord servers that use it.
that
Oh
does
yeah,
not surprise me in the least
yeah.
bit. Nate, I'm glad you made it to a live recording. But Carlbot is kind of cool because the way that she uses it, it allows you to set up essentially it filters out the hackers trying to get into servers really quick because
Oh
you have
Mhm.
nice.
to read and accept the rules and you have to do a certain thing to accept the rules. And then once you accept the
Oh
rules
yeah,
in
yeah,
that
yeah.
base channel, then you can get access to the rest of the server. Another
Mhm.
thing it does, it also allows assignments to be done much easier for
Mm-hmm.
roles, which
Yeah.
is kind of cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in Discord's actually stepped that up too. Like it used to be where
my
Discord
clan,
didn't do that at all, but there it does
yeah,
exist now.
my
Nice. Well,
clan leader developed his own bot called Rasputin. That is, he's building that functionality into
that is terrifying having a bot
it.
in any server named Rasputin.
Oh, Rasputin and Charlemagne fight all the time too.
I'm
It's awesome.
sure. That's awesome.
Because he built, anytime you mention Charlemagne, Rasputin says something.
Oh
uh,
God.
and then so Tor made it so that Charlemagne will talk back to Rasputin now. It's pretty funny.
Let's give
Says a
sentient
little.
AI more power. That never turns out poorly.
Right?
I mean, that's yet to be determined ish. Blue, did you see the tweet at us the other day on Twitter about the guy asking if the theory of Rasputin shooting the Traveler is still debunked because of the new information?
The new information
Just the Fellwinter's live revelations.
Mm-mm.
that
They were
has
just more.
nothing to
I
do
know,
with it. Okay.
I know.
No.
This is
That's
the
what I
reason
was
I
just.
don't go on Reddit.
It was
I think that was Taylor. I think was the one who posted that in the chat the other day. He's like, "And why did I open Reddit?"
I'll be right back. Just I forgot to turn off my barbecue.
you good.
Hold on.
You good. No, the
The
thing that
deli bar really came on.
I had to think about was just the whole timeline aspect. It doesn't even make sense that Rasputin shot the Traveler and then
Mm-mm. Well, and
which would cause
that's
Fellwinter to has his own problem and all of that shit.
right. Oh no 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 yeah like as like so like as a as like a response to Fellwinter being risen.
Mm-hmm.
No, it wouldn't because if in the contingency that Fellwinter or that Rasputin shot the Traveler, it would have been before any of the Risen even appeared. Like it wouldn't like because he
Exactly.
was
That's what I'm.
yeah the
It's not
timeline
connected.
would
It's
no
apples
it
and
would not be
oranges.
connected at all. Like I could see it like if something that's why I was really confused because I'm like there's no there's no touching that particular timeline because if the event happened, which I mean let's just be honest, it's still up in the air. But if it did happen, it would have happened prior to the Dark Age. It would have happened prior to the Dark Age,
Right.
because
But
during
the
the Dark
thing with,
Age,
like-
Rasputin was inactive / fragmented.
supposedly, in the Dark
Well, up
Age,
until
he still had access to a lot of different tools, including Siva, which we find out in the Felwinter's quest, that basically during the Dark Age with the warlords and everything, but that's still considered the end of the Dark Age at least, he's still got access to all of that and still able to utilize it.
Correct, but I would say that probably the only reason he was still using well, yeah, I guess we can argue back and forth on the fragmentation of him too, because there's still that's kind of brand new concept, even though it makes sense.
Sure.
Like the idea of him not having full scope, like that was the whole thing with the Echo Project and Revelations there. But like I would say still there was no clarity given to the situation with the shotgunning of the Traveler, even though there was a huge clarification and confirmation that Rasputin is capable of being put into a mobile platform, which has been a long-standing theory. And like like the fact is that we now have confirmation that at least a large percentage of a Warmind level AI can be put into a humanoid shaped platform.
Right, exo-type character.
I mean, just that confirmation opens up whole huge things of.
But the thing is
the way
go for
I
it.
look, like the way I saw that, like, Rasputin being put into an exo was them. The only way they were able to do that is if they broke up segments of his
psyche,
mind or psyche or whatever, because he's a networked. Well, from what I understand it, he's a networked mind across the entire system, and he's taken over. It sounds like at the time of the collapse, he took over every satellite, other, yes, you can call them subminds now, when we used to think they were other war minds, but he's a networked thing across the whole system. I don't think there's one exo mind that could handle that. So I think he had a group of exos ready for that event when he either attacked the Traveler or did something that humans back there didn't like. I think that's what the Echo program was designed for.
Right. I mean, literally, it's an Echo.
Black Flag has a good point. Rasputin even hints at the possibility when he talks to the stranger in that card about stepping.
Yeah, he calls her a platform.
Maybe.
Oh that's, yeah, no, I mean that's where my brain has always read that as like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because that, to me, that is part of the whole thing of the entire EXO program. Has been, not only has it been the humans chasing the immortality fountain of youth, blah blah blah, but from a standpoint of having a war mind, having it's the same thing as the Cabal. The Cabal have the smart shields that integrate and connect everything. You would want to have a war network that's actually on the ground.
Sure.
It's
which is what he was. That's his purpose. He was put out there to gather information. But the thing is,
Rasputin wasn't put out there.
No,
that's the thing.
He was created.
He was centralized.
Right, yeah. But Felwinter was.
Oh, right, yeah.
Felwinter. When Rasputin talks about Felwinter in the mission, spoilers for anybody in chat. It's been a week. I'm sorry if you haven't finished it. So
it's been like 3 days. Finish it.
When you get to the mission, if you haven't been on the internet, you're probably going to get spoiled a tiny bit. But
if you're coming here for no spoilers, I think you're in trouble.
Right.
I think given the name of it.
Right. Rasputin's basically mentions him as a solo son. He doesn't actually.
So I think the whole Fellwinter was Rasputin doing that in secret, because Clovis Bray was creating the Echo program as a failsafe against Rasputin taking over, right?
Well, because that was the
Don't
whole
believe
thing
that.
with that's the whole thing with the legacy, though, is that it wasn't as much a failsafe as a way of running away, basically. Like, that was the ultimate conclusion, was they're like, oh no, they weren't going to try to, like, basically I think they had come to the conclusion somewhat that it wasn't a possibility to, like, defeat Rasputin. It was a let's get out of here move, like abandon ship.
Well, I think initially the Echo program was Rasputin
Right, yeah. Yeah.
overstepped his bounds. This
Yeah.
is us shutting him down so we don't get
Sure.
taken over kind of thing. And I don't think the Exos are created as it's like a prolonged human life. I think that was Clovis Bray trying to
If
be
Rasputin calls
shady
me a
as shady
shizno,
can
I
be.
will die on the spot. You're a dirty, dirty shizno. Andy!
The thing is I think the EXO program was the step towards the Echo program. The Echo program.
Oh, that was the first step. Yeah.
Yeah. So
for sure, that was the first step.
like the Echoes were put in place, and that's one of the things Blue and I plan on actually diving into is that web lore, because there's so much to digest in that web lore.
There's a ton. Yeah.
That it needs its own episode in those 2 pages. So I know that's
crazy,
something...
like the Anna going through all the different locations. Yeah.
Well, and I think the Exos being a step in the progress is the same as the frames. I still hold that the frames
were first.
Yeah,
the frames were first, and then the Exos, because they had to perfect they had to perfect the ability to put a mind into
whether it's a positronic model or whatever, what have you. But I mean, that's the thing too, is like, if depending on the neuralistics of the design, it'll be interesting. I mean, this isn't the first time Bungie's played with the difference between dumb and smart AI. There's also full disclosure. I think someone brought this up in chat, but this also, Doom brought this up. This gives hope to save failsafe.
Oh God, let's not put her in a body. I don't want the count thing to be a thing. No.
Is this what this means?
I do not. No.
Failsafe is an Echo.
But all the Echoes got destroyed, from what I understand.
They did. I just
the failsafe was an Echo. No, the Echo program was never activated.
Yeah,
I don't think it was ever activated though.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I mean, it was like
failsafe as a ghost. Yes,
it seemed like. Well, and that's always been a possibility too, because Ghost downloaded the world's grave. Like, Ghost can hold a ridiculous amount of information.
And Ghost pretends he didn't do that now, and
I think that was called out because he had to download it. Like, he was able to download it, but he had to get rid of it. Like, it's like a computer. Like, it basically filled up his data banks, and he was like, nope. Like, this is too much information.
That's pretty bad data to hold on to. That's pretty corrupted stuff. I don't think it would be good for him to hold on to.
Probably not.
Put her in a
tunnel and
have her
the Echo program
her.
didn't. Yeah, that'd be great. I don't think the Echo program was able to be activated before the collapse happened.
Because I think that can go back and forth too, because within Legacy it seemed like the Echo components would be activated like one by one. Because that was the whole thing with the one. It sounded like the whole thing was a glitch, because that one kept getting reactivated and wiped over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Because what was it,
it sounded
30,000 resets or something like that, or 20,000. It was like some.
Yeah. And it sounds like Anna was the one that shut the program down. And
Anna was. She was the one. she was the
primary
face. She was
face
the
of it
face
that
of it,
was
yeah.
there during all those resets because he recognized her.
Well,
He
she
knew
was the
who
one
she
that was on the
She was the one in charge of the
the
program.
vid
is
screen.
The way I
the
read
vid
it.
screen that was like the whole like automated what do you call it? Like the intro video basically. It's like, hey, welcome back. This is what's happened since you went to sleep. And it's like he kept like getting it over and over and over.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, he called her the warden, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the way he recognized her. So
that's like,
but
that's
I really
like
don't think that Echo program did go anywhere. So.
No, well, and that's like if you got chained in front of Hawthorne and it was like,
oh my God, no, no.
I mean, no one would go insane if you had to hear the same dialogue over and over again.
Go, woke up the traveler. Right on the street is.
You and your clan are making a difference. Should we start top 3?
Oh my God, I would shoot myself if that happened. I'd figure out a way if I was tied up in front of her.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I can't. I get away from her as fast as I can. I can't do it anymore.
She's the new Zavala, which is amusing. Considering her friendship with Zavala now.
Since failsafe is already insane. That means.
Oh my goodness. That means
I don't know if that would make it worse.
She would talk back to Hawthorne the entire time.
She would be so sassy.
She would be mouthing off. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it would be. I think that would be glorious.
But I could see her hanging out with Drifter being kind of cool too.
Let's talk about our top 3. Am I doing the back? Am we doing backup on mine?
Yes, please.
Correct. Okay. All right. Let me get.
Yep, because he's working on a work computer.
I can't. The weeks are running together, so I can't remember if it was this week or. But all right, we are good to go whenever you are.
Are you ready, Gar?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Been a while. Let's see if I can remember how to do this.
You can do it.
I keep holding my breath, getting ready to start, and then some other noise pops into my head, so I'm getting distracted. Hey!
Phenomena.
Hey!
Phenomena.
Okay, here we go. Welcome to FFC Top 3. That's right, we're back. A show where we, your FFC hosts, count things down from 3 to number 1. Thank you for joining us this week. If you have a suggestion, please send them over to us on Twitter, in email at focusfirechat@gmail.com. This week, with the help of our guest Garstone, we are going to talk about our top 3 fountain drinks. Since it is nearly summer, it is hot enough outside, at least where I'm at, for it to be summer. I have a sunburn on my ears. I have that nice little peel going on. Too much hiking, too much UV. But yeah, we're going to talk about fountain drinks. So the way that we do top 3 is we have Blue go first, then our guest, and then I will end out the round going from 3, everybody goes, 2s, everybody goes, and then finally on number 1s. And then we have a fun little thing called the Also Rans, which is just things that almost made your top 3, but not quite. So, Blue, what is your number 3 fountain drink?
Root beer.
Any particular brand? Because there's a huge variety out there.
Not really, to be honest. I actually do like just like an old-fashioned fountain drink root beer, like if that's an option. If it's in a glass bottle, it's better. But other than that, I'm not really particularly loyal to a brand. I know some people are like really hardcore, like Bargs or what is it, AMC? Mm-hmm. Or is it AMC? Is that the one?
AMW.
I'm like,
AMC is movie theater.
Yeah, I said that and I was like, hang on, that's not a drink.
He's okay.
But yeah, no, to me it's just I like the taste. Though I will say if you have a good like sarsaparilla, that's really good. But yeah.
Nice. Root beer is one of those drinks that I think is just a good classic because it's childhood in a cup in my mind.
And it's nice too because like and everyone will recognize, root beer float, like root beer float, like root beer with Bluebell, vanilla ice cream, homemade vanilla ice cream is just, I don't think you can beat it.
Nice. Well,
I haven't had a root beer float in a while. But
right?
Yeah.
What is your number 3, Gar?
Number 3, iced tea. Now, I'm up in Canada, so our iced tea is a lot different than your guys's.
Okay.
Ours is, so like Nestea,
Mm-hmm.
or what the heck is the... So it's like...
There's like
Red Sweet
Diamond and a few other, like there's some
Yeah,
brand
so
out there.
Canada, we only have 2.
Okay.
Nestea is the one I drink most. But
Gotcha.
Brisk, there we go. That's the one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, they're like super sweet. I don't drink them often, but that is one of the ones I do.
Nice.
Especially when it's hot out. That's one I'll go for. So, but I had, we have like a Stampede. At the largest outdoor show on earth, they do like old school fountain drink stands.
Oh, cool.
That's the one I'll go for more often than not when that's around, because you can only get it then.
Nice.
Yeah, iced tea for sure. That's my number 3.
Cool. That's very nice. I like it. So my number 3 is a cherry Pepsi. So those fountains that will do the additions that you can push.
Oh, the new ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So cherry Pepsi is definitely one of my favorites. Really, just Pepsi with any added flavor. Pepsi tends to be a really good base, in my opinion, for a lot of drinks. So it is one of the drinks that I grew up with every single day after school, essentially. It was either Pepsi or a different one that's going to come up later in the list at my grandmother's house. I would grab a soda from her closet, because that's where she decided that sodas needed to stay, was in boxes in a closet.
Hey, as long as it's consistent, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I would just grab a glass of ice and a soda can, and granted, in Kansas, when I was growing up, we called it pop, but I know that is not correct in certain areas of the country. But that would be my afternoon snack, along with playing Phase 10 and other card games and getting mad at Grandma for changing the rules all the time. We're up to number 2s, though. Blue.
My number 2 is Dr. Pepper.
Okay. Is there any like reason why, or is it just like it's just something delicious. I had all the time? Okay. Do you think Dr. Pepper is spicy? I saw this as a question on Twitter earlier.
Like, if you've so the reason why is because, like, back when it first started out, it was described as a spicy drink. Like, if you've had a fresh like off like the fountain drink version, I can see the like description of it, but it's not like spicy, like hot spicy.
No.
It's
it has
it has that sensation, that bite. Like that's what, when they say spicy, I've always kind of pictured. Like, not like when you say spicy in today's world, a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's hot." No, it's not that at all. So yes,
I gotcha.
Yeah, that's how my daughter sees like when we say spices to like flavor something, like freaks out. It's hot.
Yeah, so like, I mean, like, yeah, it's because it has that really it's a very unique taste to it, tang to it. Not tang, but that's the best word I can use for it.
The mouthfeel.
It's really, it's really noticeable if you have one that's like the old fashioned fountain drink, like mixed.
You know what's terrible though is having a flat Dr. Pepper, because you don't get that nice mouthfeel or that bite. It's just syrup. and it's
So
awful.
I actually prefer flat pop.
Really?
But
I can't
not
do
Dr.
it.
Pepper.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
Dr. Pepper.
How
Well,
funny.
Have
and
to-
Dr. Pepper is because the combination of syrups that they use for Dr. Pepper, if it flattens, it's no good.
It's not good.
Abandoned
It makes
ship.
it rough. It makes it rough.
It's
It
the
makes
one
it really
time
rough, yeah.
it makes
It's-
it makes it like the one time that it's somewhat feasibly acceptable to just dump it out and start over. Like
It makes it too syrupy,
Mhm.
the flat.
I will say this too. Dr. Pepper is kind of a chameleon. It
Yes.
has a different taste warm than it does ice cold.
It also really does reflect whatever container you put it in.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that too. Whether it's glass or
Mhm.
plastic.
Yes. Or
Or
aluminum.
no, a can or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you get a Dr. Pepper that's served in a chilled like glass cup,
Mm-hmm.
it will taste
well, that's the same.
so
as-
much better.
It's the same as A&W root beer. When you get the I don't know if you guys down there had the option, but they do
Mhm.
frosted glasses. here,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Every now and then we'll
and
find
you eat in.
Yeah. If you eat in. Yep.
That's
Oh
nice.
man, I
So-
haven't been to one of those. In
So and
forever.
it tastes different when they.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if it's just because it's like super cold or what, but it just has that
I know that there's
different.
this. I know we're talking fountain drinks, but I know there are certain beer companies, breweries that will put out beers that. There's one in particular. I can't remember the company that creates it, but it's called Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles,
Mhm.
named after the devil or the demon, and it is, and you are encouraged to drink it starting where it's cold and then to drink it slowly because of the change in flavor
change in
as it
ta-
warms up.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
couple like Nitro will do their thing is hard pours. Like they actually
Mhm.
have a picture
Oh,
on
yeah.
the bottle. They're like, no,
Left hand.
don't. Yeah, left hand. They're like, don't pour this because you need it. It's designed to be drank that way.
Well, that's like the Guinness bottles.
Mhm.
give you
Yeah.
the-
Yep, with the ball bearings.
Absolutely. All right. So moving into number 2 for Gar, what is your number 2 fountain drink?
Orange Crush.
Orange Crush.
Oh
No,
man,
no,
I haven't
not
had-
Orange Crush. C plus. I don't know if you guys get C plus down there. It's
Sounds familiar, but
so you still get it. Not so much in a fountain drink, so I'll go Orange Crush because it's close.
Okay.
But C
Okay.
plus they use like real juice instead of
Hmm.
syrup for the.
Oh,
that
and they
sounds
would
really interesting,
carbonate it.
actually.
So
Yeah, because like the
it's-
carbonation would. Oh man.
Yeah, so C plus, like when I was a little kid. Now this was a bottle by my uncle to the local corner store that was kind of these people's houses that they converted. Um, nice cold glass of C plus, and
mhm.
we'd go to the park and just hang out, and I drink my pop, and but yeah, kind of my favorite.
I like it.
I'll get that one.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
me, just because of the nostalgia factor.
No worries. No worries. Blue? Did we lose you?
No,
Okay. For some reason.
I still hear.
Okay. Lost you guys. Lose.
What was your number 2, Green? Did we lose Green?
Yeah, I think so. And here, loser. I can only really find C plus in bottles or cans nowadays.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if it's on tap, like if it's on a fountain, that's what I.
Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah,
I'll go
because
for
like
if I can't
the
get my first
difference,
choice.
the difference between that's like the actual fountain drinks and then like bottled pop is different.
But it tastes the same to me. Like, it just brings that old school nostalgia.
I know her Discord was acting up earlier today, so
okay, maybe
she might be having to refresh real quick. She broke it. Surge. Oh my gosh.
Surge. Strange offspring of Sprite and great.
Yeah, Surge is a.
That sounds like Fresca.
Yes, actually, it's very similar. It is actually
Fresca and orange juice is great. Like Fresca on its own.
Like mixing them?
Yeah, so my mom did that when we used to go on picnics. She'd buy Fresca and then a big thing orange juice, and then she'd mix the drinks that way. It's very refreshing, especially on a
really hot day. Yeah, I can imagine.
It's very yummy.
All
if that's what Surge is, yeah. But that description you gave, Raz, is not doesn't sound great to me.
What, a strange offspring of Sprite and watered down Mountain Dew? How could that possibly be bad?
I don't think I've ever had Sierra Mist, so I don't know what that one is. Okay, her internet cut out.
Yeah, Green's having to reboot real quick. Well,
Mellow Yellow. Oh man, I thought I was the only one that remembered that.
Mellow Yellow. That's been a while.
I talked to people about that one up here, and they're like, "What? What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Isn't that was that Tom Cruise movie?"
Mm-hmm.
He drove. Was it Days of Thunder or whatever? He drove the Mellow car or Mellow Yellow car. Yeah.
Bad place. Bad place.
That Scion wants to take that hiding.
I know. This is my hiding spot. Because that's about to happen. Boom.
No, you're the only one alive.
I know. I'm like, last guardian standing. I don't like that message. Especially on this level. It's like, I am too dumb to be the last person standing. Yep, like that.
Not a fan of this one.
Days of Thunder.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was a while ago. Is Mellow Yellow still around? Is RC Cola still around?
RC Cola is kind of still around.
Ow.
It's hard to.
Stuff hasn't been around.
It's hard to find, but I know Mellow Yellow has been kind of like slightly coming back. Because
it's still around. We haven't had RC here for.
Yeah, it takes it's hard. It's not easy to find them. I will say that.
Oh, Yellow was Coke's answer to Mountain Dew, isn't it?
Was it really?
Oh, that's the way I look at it because they're kind of similar.
Oh my god, dude! Oh no! I'm on fire!
Throw your grenade.
I
You're nice.
Totally forgot I had a grenade. How did we?
Get out of there! Get out!
Oh, that's a whoa! You're a big dude.
Oh, jeez.
It's like, what is this big thing that's? Oh, it's you. All of a sudden, there was damage being dealt.
I'm gonna kill you.
Green's having fun.
Yep. I'm available for a while, so hopefully she can get back.
Yeah, I know. Sounds like she had to reboot everything, which is always fun. We've had It's always fun in the middle of everything else to have to reboot stuff. So, but yeah, because I know Discord was giving her grief earlier today. Like she was doing something and it just like disconnected. Oh no! It won't even open on your PC. Hang on.
I was having troubles with it earlier. Just wouldn't load for me.
Let's see if we can get her on her. If she can get on her phone, then at least we can. Because I'm recording all of it on my end, so. It won't be as nice, but at least it'll get done. Watermelon Red Bull.
Isn't that the new summer flavor?
I want to say yeah.
Red
Bull cracks me up because of the like the whole debate over the icon that they use.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yay!
We are gonna go old school, everybody. I am on my cell phone and using a PlayStation headset.
Nice. Hey, whatever works, man.
Yeah. So I don't know why, but Discord won't even open on my PC now for some reason after rebooting it. I can't even get the Twitch to open up completely because it's telling me there's a network error. So I don't know what's going on over here. Yeah, fun stuff. Anyway, are we okay to keep going, or
yeah,
what do you want to do?
I think I never got to hear your number 2.
Cool. So my number 2 actually has to do with a childhood obsession that started, I say it's childhood, I'd started in junior high, and it was because I made a very, very good friend who decided that the best fountain drink in the whole world was a hack. It was a hack of what Blue had described as the root beer float. No, it's not ice cream. It is Sonic's Vanilla Cream Dr. Pepper.
Oh, yep.
And
yep.
it is absolutely delicious. It's one of the best drinks that it's got the flavor of a root beer float or a Dr. Pepper float without the ice cream. So you're not fighting the ball of ice cream that's slowly melting into it. It's already melted. It's so nice. It's got that great mouthfeel.
You can get that now
in Dr. Pepper bite.
I was about to say, yeah,
you can get that in like a can or something.
Yep. It's basically the idea is the same. Excuse me, the same as the vanilla Dr. Pepper. That's because before they started doing all these like crazy flavor combinations, it used to be like Sonic was like one of the few places that you could actually get that stuff.
Yeah,
like they were a little bit ahead of the time on that.
I'm sure they were sick of Sonic getting all the.
Oh, I'm sure. Like, well, and it was just so funny because like it was like Sonic wasn't doing anything special. They were just putting different syrups in it. Like it wasn't like they were like reinventing the wheel or anything. They're just like, oh, people like vanilla, people like Dr. Pepper. Let's put the two together.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice, and then adding the cream on top of it. Like you can get vanilla Dr. Peppers, but I don't know if you can get the cream one.
No, I think that one is kind of
not necessarily. Yeah,
I think that one is pretty exclusive to Sonic. At least as far as I know, it is.
Yeah,
I'll have to try that next time I'm down in the States and can find a Sonic.
It's a nice one. It's definitely a kind of a candy-esque, super sweet drink if you like a sugary drink. But All right. So that brings us, we're all the way back to number ones again with that slight little delay in there.
Correct.
Are you ready, Blue?
Yep. My number one is a variation of my number two. It's Diet Dr. Pepper.
Boo.
Whatever.
Boo.
It is
No.
what it is.
I mean, yeah,
I'm a Texan.
like,
I'm a Texan. I'm allowed to like
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper twice.
that's
Just
fair.
be happy I did not put it as all three because I was really tempted to put it as all three.
That's such cheating, though.
That's why I didn't do it. That's why I changed
glad.
number three.
I'm glad. Oh my gosh. Okay.
But yeah,
Gar,
like
what's your
Diet
number
Dr.
one?
Pepper is
My
just
number
it's not as
one-
sugary. So
Gotcha.
So my number one is good old Coca-Cola.
Okay.
the
If I can
carb
get
battery cleaner.
those crazy, those programmable, like lets you choose your flavor, I put lime
Mhm.
because I miss lime Coke. We had it here for
man, I
a
haven't
really
had
short
that
amount
forever.
of time.
Yeah, that
And I love it. I love lime Coke. The best drinks I had was rum with lime Coke. It was so good. So that's my go-to is
I like Coke when I can't get a Pepsi, unfortunately. Like, it's one of those things, like, I prefer the Pepsi.
I like
But,
I get it,
I like
man.
this.
One of my
I like
best
this
friends is
company when I don't get their major competitor.
yeah.
my best friend's like hardcore Pepsi, like won't touch Coke. So
Mhm.
I get it.
Hey, it killed Michael Jackson.
There-
Okay, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
That is a really old joke that still somehow too soon.
The Coke and Pepsi war is the only product war that actually claimed someone's life.
That's true. The only type of Coke that I will actually go out of my way to get is the Mexican Coke.
Oh
The
yeah,
bottled Coca-Colas
Like
that
with the
are
actual
made with the
sugar
with actual
cane?
sugar. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
That
I don't
is
think I've had that
delicious.
one. I think I've had that
Yeah,
one yet.
I'm
I
so
think
used-
I've seen it
it's-
around up here, but
yeah. Well, even in the Midwest, it's kind of hard to find. But like when we, because I grew up in Texas, it was like that was like the normal Coke. Like that wasn't it actually. I mean, it wasn't that it was impossible to find. Just like the whatever it's not sucrose. Is it sucrose or whatever it is? But like most time
that's
when
a
you
type of
went
sugar.
Like
to
corn
when you
syrup,
went
I think
yeah
they
corn syrup or
use.
whatever, whenever you went to a friend's house to get a soda, it was the Mexican
Mhm.
Coca-Cola.
It is delicious. You can get
Crystal
them at
Pepsi.
various-
Oh, God,
Oh my god,
Jax.
dude, no, man.
I couldn't.
Crystal Pepsi, I
just-
think, was coming out around the time the Olympics were here, so they tied that into
Oh
the
no.
Olympics. Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh
That
no.
was. I can't believe they brought it back. I really can't. I don't know if it's still around, but I know they brought it back for a very short amount of time. I don't know if it.
Cracked
Saw
me
the
up.
bottles, I was like, nope. Nope.
There are some sodas out there that I'm like, I can't believe you're still around. Like, they were so bad growing up. We never touched them. And I saw somebody mention it in chat earlier. RC.
RC
RC
Cola. Yeah,
Cola.
RC Cola.
I
yeah
mean,
like
we were
any
having
of
that
the-
discussion when you were offline. Yeah.
Any of the
I can't believe it's
knockoff
still around.
brands, like Dr.
Yeah.
Thunder, like that was a terrible
Mhm.
one. It was like,
Mhm.
I'm like, why? Like the terrible thing was like, it's not like it was that much cheaper than Dr. Pepper. It was the same price. You were just getting like a less, like it was just, even as a kid, that never made sense to me. I was like if it was half the price,
Thunder,
okay,
just
sure,
the
I could.
name.
Oh God, that wasn't even the bad one. Like there were some that were just like, I'm like, really? Did you even try? Like I can't even. Of course, I can't remember any of them off the top of my head. But like, yeah, the Walmart brands, the Sam's Club brands,
Yeah.
like. But the thing that always drove me
Safeway and
crazy is
the
like
knockoff band.
they were never cheaper. Like it's like you're deliberately getting less quality for the same price.
Same price.
Some people
Yeah.
really liked them though, because I had friends who preferred.
I mean, I
the
guess because
Walmart
they're
brand stuff.
they're
'cause that's
still
what they grew
around.
up with. Yeah. Yeah,
I just
Mr.
I
Pibb.
couldn't.
Yeah, God, Mr. Pibb is a
Well,
terrible,
Mr. Pibb just
frickin'
is. Yeah, you can. That was
terrible Dr.
Coca-Cola
Pepper.
trying to.
Mhm.
That is as a Texan, that is one of the things that will trigger most people I grew up with, is like if you walk into a restaurant and you ask for a Dr. Pepper and they're like, "We have Mr. Pibb." It was just, I'm like, you are about to get yelled at
No.
by, if not by me, by one of the other people that I'm with. Like, it's just.
Mm-hmm. You know, okay, so final number one, and this is my number one favorite drink I have ever had, and it's not because it tasted good, but because of the story tied to it. When I was in college, I worked for a group called the ARC of Sedgwick County, and the ARC was the special needs reach out group, and we always took our after school kid program that I worked for. We took the kids to, oh, what is it called? It was basically like the 7-Eleven out there.
Mm-hmm.
And we would get drinks. We'd always we'd budget for the week, and part of our budget a lot of times went to this fountain thing. And I let one of the kids that I worked with make my drink for me one time. It was the most convoluted thing I've ever watched. I think
Oh
it
yeah,
had,
it is. Yeah, it had like a freestand fountain drink. Yeah.
Yeah, so they put root beer, Pepsi,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Pepper,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to say Sprite, all in the same thing. It sounds awful.
No, that sounds delicious.
It actually wasn't bad. I've never been able to recreate the exact mix because I didn't see what ratios he put in there, but it wasn't too bad for
we grew up calling those
mixed drinks as you
suicides.
get. Mm-hmm. I call it the abomination.
I used to do the orange fountain drink, so like usually it's like orange crush or whatever, and then root beer.
Really?
Oh, that would be an interesting. Like
There's an orange Coke
growing
out
up,
there
that was
now.
like, growing up that was like one of the big things was you'd go to 7-Eleven or what have you, whatever gas station, because they'd always have the fountain drinks that were in the line, and it was just a matter of, you literally start at one end and you work your way down the whole thing, and it was just a little bit of everything. And
my kid does that with Slurpees.
Yep, Slurpees, or the ices. The ices you could do it with. Yeah, that was growing up. That was the big thing.
Pink lemonade and Sprite would be good. Yeah, I'm down with that one.
Yeah, it was always awkward when you walked in and you saw one of them had Gatorade. You're like, oh, am I gonna dedicate it? Like, am I gonna stick with it or not? Like,
am I gonna?
Yeah, because I mean, well, that was the whole thing. Was it was like everyone, you have to do everything. It was like, so you always, like, growing up, we'd always knew which gas stations had the weird, like, it wasn't always Gatorade, but they'd have like High C. And it's like, all right, let's go here, and everyone's like, oh no. I call it insulin shock.
That's dedication there. Do you guys have any like also rans that you would want that almost made your list but not quite?
Cream soda.
Yeah, I'll give you cream soda. It has to be like the original though, like the white.
Oh yeah.
Not yeah.
In a glass bottle, like cream soda. Cream soda is one of the
Yeah.
few that I like. It has to be in a glass bottle for me. It kind of ties into that whole vanilla flavor thing that you're talking about with the Sonic drink green.
Yeah. So Nate Fu actually in chat mentioned Julie's favorite, and that sounds really interesting. It's the cactus cooler. That's her favorite fountain drink when I asked her earlier. Apparently it's like pineapple and something else mixed together in a soda as far as flavors. I'd have to look it up, but that one sounds kind of yummy. Iced tea is always a favorite of mine. It's kind of an easy standard go-to. Coke slushy with a root beer base is really good too.
I do. So to us, they do a cherry Coke, so that's my go-to for Slurpees.
Jones soda, that's a good
Jones.
brand.
Oh man, Jones soda. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't get that in Fountain, at least not up here.
No.
You can't. Yeah, you have to get
If I
those
could-
in bottles.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was able to have it as an option, Cherry Coke would be my fountain drink of choice for sure. Love Cherry Coke. We can't get that up here.
You can definitely
Miss
get
it.
the added flavors, luckily, but
It's either cherry or lime is kind of what I do when we go to the movie theater because they all have those fancy fountain drink things now. So I get to choose.
Alright,
oh
cool.
man, yeah. So I think that's it. It's our.
Now I want
to say.
pop really bad now.
I know. I'm sorry. It's later in the evening. I'm drinking coffee. I wish I had a soda. I actually
I just
cut
polished off
out.
my last beer.
Oh, nice. We cut out sodas at our place, so I'm the closest I have in my fridge is a Fever Tree ginger beer, and I'm not going to bust that out right now. But thank you guys for catching up with us in top 3. Thank you, Gar, for joining us on here. And remember, everybody loves a list. Oh my gosh. Jones's root beer was the only root beer that I would drink. Like, we sold Jones's
I
soda.
love the blue one. That's my favorite.
Oh yeah,
Blue
yeah,
raspberry,
The
I
blue one,
think.
the blue raspberry, and then their cream soda is probably one of the best I've ever
It's
had.
so sweet, though. It's just pure sugar.
Yeah, but that's
I
cream
can't
soda. That's
do
cream
it.
soda.
I
But
can't
that's cream
do it.
soda.
I
He's like,
can't
yeah,
do
that's
it.
the point.
I have to have a little bit of bite. I want my soda to hurt me.
Get the
I want
spicy Dr.
something to
Pepper.
bite. I want a spicy
Spicy
drink.
Dr. Pepper.
So I actually was talking about this earlier about the Fever Tree. So ginger beer, have you guys really had very many
I've
ginger
had ginger
beer?
beer.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
ginger beers. Yeah.
So
It's
Fever
all
Tree.
I used to drink when my wife was. She used to have a gluten allergy, so that's the only stuff we drink.
Gotcha. Yeah, so the Fever Tree, you were talking about spice being kind of a heat spice, where like the thought of it being a heat spice instead of a like a bite in your mouth type spice.
Mm-hmm.
Fever Tree definitely is like the same kind of. It's such strong ginger, but it almost has the
Oh.
same feel as like if you ate garlic raw.
Okay,
Bites you that
that
hard.
kind of bite.
It's
Yeah,
so good.
yeah, I like that.
So good. You can get it at Costco.
Somebody's
Oh,
Okay,
clipping
no, I know that
line.
one. That's the ginger beer that I like drinking. That
Mhm.
it is. It is really good, and it does have. I totally will agree with you. That tingle, that like, it's delicious. It comes in like the little glass bottles, I think.
Mhm.
Or at least the one that, or at least the ones that we do. The place here does. There
It's
you are.
great with vodka and a lime.
So there's a crush. It's more East Coast. I don't get it here often because it costs like $3 a bottle, or a can. Beer.
Mhm.
It's like a red root beer. It's really freaking good. It has kind of a
That's interesting.
bite to it. Yeah. I don't know if you guys get that down here. Like it's literally Eastern Canada, like Newfoundland, Nova Scotia. You can get it. So they do like a
I've never
pineapple
tried it.
crush.
I've heard of it though.
If you can get it, try it. The pineapple crush is so good.
That sounds awesome. Red cream soda. It does kind of sound like a red cream soda.
It looks like the red cream soda, but tastes completely different.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You're talking about
it's my wife's favorite one.
You're talking about sodas that are solid sugar. That's Big Red. Like that's a soda.
I don't think I ever had Big Red.
What? That was the
of
soda
that
that like your parents saw it and it was like no, like it was like it's just you knew things were going downhill fast as soon as you ingested it.
Big Red, I don't think I had that one.
It was like drinking cotton candy. Like I mean that's pretty much
gross. Yeah, nasty.
It was one of those drinks that
So you
you
guys
didn't
get all
drink.
kinds of fun flavors down.
You didn't drink that
No.
thing for
You don't.
flavor. You drank it for the just unadulterated sugar content.
You call
We
it
used to have
fun
Jolt.
flavors. We call it like
Used to have
diabetes in a
Jolt.
can.
Used to have
Diabetes.
Jolt Cola.
Oh
I
god.
don't know if you guys ever had that.
Yes.
It's like the precursor to the energy drinks. They banned it here for a long time.
I
Like,
was about to
even
say.
get the we couldn't even get the caffeine loaded 2 years ago.
Wow.
Was that just
Yeah.
recent that they brought it back?
Here, yeah.
Because I don't think they've brought it back here. Well, they might have. I haven't
Jolt's
seen it.
not back here. If Jolt's around, I don't think it's the caffeine version.
Oh yeah,
Jolt
no, 'cause
is essentially mellow yellow with extra caffeine, isn't it?
Depends on, like, Jolt used to have like a Coke. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah,
and that
it
one
was,
had the most
yeah, it
caffeine.
was
It was crazy.
it was one of the ones that like even people who wanted the caffeine were like, like
oh yeah, it was like four
mess-
coffee
it would-
cups worth of
yeah.
caffeine. Like, it was messed.
it would
It
mess
was
you up.
messed.
Dang.
I
It was pretty
remember
strong.
that was up there with we had a drink, and I think it was nationwide, but it was called cocaine, and it was like it
Because
was
that's a
big-
great marketing
Oh
scheme.
no, it was one of those things where it's like, whoever came up with this idea from the very beginning, you could tell this was not a great idea. It had like the equivalent of like 3 or 4 Monster energy drinks in it
Oh,
in a
no.
single can. It was like they came out,
That
and I think it was probably
sounds-
one of the quickest things to get like brought off the shelves because it was just like, hey, people are gonna die. Like
Yeah, their
literally,
hearts are
you will
gonna
go
explode.
to the hospital if you drink it. And I remember when that was the whole, oh my gosh, it was, ugh.
So, the only drink that I'd like to try, my granddad told me a story of when he was in the Navy. They were stopped in, remember where, Turkey maybe, and he brought a
Mhm.
flat of Coke back on the ship for everybody to drink. Well, little did he know it was the one that still had cocaine in it.
Oh, God.
Doctor's orders.
Yeah, so he got in big trouble for bringing it onto the ship. 'Cause
I'm
a
sure.
bunch of guys failed their tests, but,
Oh, my gosh.
and they were messed up for a while.
Okay, so before we start the
But no one had
main
anxiety,
show, I'm
so it was all good.
I'm gonna
You couldn't
switch
sleep
back
for 3
over
days.
to the PC because Discord
Okay.
finally opened up for me.
Cool.
Okay, there you go.
So I'm
I
gonna
couldn't sleep
leave
for 3
again.
days.
God, sounds terrible.
But they weren't hysterical, so that's all that mattered.
Exactly. They got rid of that way before.
Yeah,
At
that
least up
was.
here, they got rid of it before I was born. So,
Okay. Hey, much better
welcome back.
and much cleaner sounding.
Ow.
What is?
I don't
What
know.
is
Something's punching me. What the hell's punching me?
Were you in the water? Because
No,
you know that
I was in the air. That was the thing. I was. Oh, you missed it. We were doing the Warden of Nothing strike, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden there's a giant centurion just
Giant
on
cabal.
top of me, and we're like, "What the? Where did you come from?" Apparently, he had the same plan I did as getting in the hidey hole while the servitor was throwing fire around. I was like,
And
"Oh."
you guys didn't like kill him before any of the other things prompted?
Well,
No, they didn't.
to
No,
to
they
be
didn't.
fair, I don't really know what the other people that I was running the strike with were doing because when the kill feed came up, I had like
Kept dying.
150 and they had like 20.
Yeah.
So I don't really know if they knew what was going on. But
And they kept dying to
It's
they
like-
kept dying to the servitor like nonstop. So
Weird.
they
That's been
wiped 3
happening
times on
so
the
long.
servitor just
yeah, it was.
before that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I was like, the fact that I'm the only one left standing during this fight is a bad sign. Like because I am not
I
known for
wonder-
my.
It's blackout now, isn't it?
It was blackout yesterday.
Is it?
Should
Yeah.
be blackout today.
Okay.
I know.
Because if it's
I'm pretty sure
blackout,
it's
if
like.
it's new, if
It's
people are new, they wouldn't know
no, it's
necessarily.
not blackout because I have my radar up, but
Okay.
I do know
Yeah.
that it's what is it, grounded?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
And
that
then
would do it.
well, and then
Yeah,
it's
so if they
solar
were
singe on
jumping,
top of that. So solar singe,
yeah,
it's like, yeah, you don't want to be outside when
and
the
there's a
sun
ton
comes
of
out.
vests hanging out
Mhm.
too, shooting them.
Cool. Okay, so
Jump on that
for
Minotaur shoot too. Do it.
the Blue's gonna be proud of me. I actually picked up Wish Ender, although I still don't like it as well as
Hold on, wait,
Monarch.
wait, wait.
I
Hmm?
need to
You
get
didn't
my
have
monarch.
Wishender?
No,
No,
I've
she
had it.
did. She just
I
uses
just
Oh,
I use the
Monarch.
Monarch as my primary, like my main bow. But since Fellwinter's Lie is a really good shotgun, like
hmm
nearly as good
I
as
got my Snicker
Mindbender.
snack.
Oh, really?
So
Yeah, it's
some
got 4 pull on it.
people like Mindbenders only because of Snapshot.
Yeah. That's the only thing that I haven't enjoyed about having Fellwinters, but I do like having Shot Package because I have a Dust Rock that's worked for me. It's not the best Dust Rock, but I need.
So
So I
I
completely
watch
when
Fallout's videos, and he
mhm.
says a God rolled Astral beats out
Mhm.
Fellwinters
Oh, really?
by a complete meter for one hit kill.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So if you have a God rolled Astral, stick with that.
Isn't
But
Astral a secondary
it's
shotty?
primary. It's a light. It's a light. It's not an
Okay,
aggressive frame.
gotcha.
So
Yeah, I
Gotcha.
completely forgot that my Perfect Paradox shotgun has the auto fire feature.
Mhm.
So I hold down the trigger too much. You know, dun, 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 dun. I was like, "Where'd all the ammo?" Oh, yeah, that's right.
Hey,
the
Blue,
rapid fire gets you every time, man.
I have a very odd request for you at some point. I'm gonna need you to shoot at a wall or the ground because I'm curious. I haven't tested this, but most shotguns pellets disperse in a wave form, so they're
Hmm.
not all hitting you at the same time. And I'm curious if Fellwinter's with shot package does the same as the most of them,
Do
or if
all of
it's
them have shot
different.
package? Is it
Oh,
or
shot package
Yes.
replaces.
Is
So
Fellwinter's a
Fellwinter's.
static roll?
Hmm.
So
Okay.
yeah, and Fellwinter's is a special weapon frame archetype. So
Hmm.
instead of it being, it says aggressive or light frame, it says shock package for its frame,
Right.
Mm.
and with a more consistent pellet spread.
Right.
Um,
I'm just curious if the pellet spread happens in the
from
same
what I've
way as the other
seen,
two.
from what I've seen of it, it shoots it in one.
More like a slug.
Yeah,
Oh, seriously, people.
and it's so the 5 center pellets are exactly the same every time. And then there's like 7 that go around it that kind of
Will float.
move in. Yeah, but they stay tight to the 5 in the middle.
I gotcha.
I
You know
watched
what?
a
All right.
bunch of testing of it. So.
Good, because I have not yet. And thank you for your knowledge on that.
Let me
Blue,
get let me get
you're
done with
making me
this.
proud. You're making me proud.
Why?
With so many kills with a bow. Making for the people who are like, why are you using a bow? It's you just can't.
Have you not watched any of my gameplay? I
I
usually only use the bow.
no, I'm that you're representing
Oh,
well.
I never
That
use them.
oh,
bows are
Wishender. I
actually a
usually,
lot better than most people give them credit for.
for the longest time, I was using Subtle Calamity, but as soon as I got Wishender, I was like, this is really nice. You put that with what are the gauntlets of
Keepers.
invincibility,
Oath keepers.
basically, and
Keepers.
you can. It's free. It's free. Oops, I got thrown across the wall. You get to look through the walls.
So here's something that a lot of people don't realize with the sniper or with the bows in general. It's essentially the fast fire rate snipers with 60 shots,
Mm-hmm.
60 to like 40 to 60 shots. It does take a little bit to get used to the draw pattern and the timing of knowing when you can actually release versus releasing early and letting the arrow just hit like the body shot. But once you get that rhythm down, it is super deadly because they hit as hard as the rapid fire rate snipers very easily. Anyway,
Yeah, but can't rapid fire still precision one shot you? Except if you're in a already you still have to.
They can. But like when you're dealing the amount of damage, I can with a La Monarch or with a Wish Ender, I can basically knock you down to quarter health with one shot. And if I have a quick draw opening shot hand cannon that's a 110, like 140 to 110, generally 110s are a little bit better to do this with that snapshot and opening shot, I will
Or you just punch him
bow
in the
hand
face.
cannon faster
Yeah, I'm a
than you
Titan,
can.
so screw bows. Shotgun, shove it down their throat and shoot.
Yeah,
with my
green
shoulder.
does the bow
Bow-shotty.
shotgun and really scary.
Yeah, a friend of mine is a Titan
I usually
with
do the
bottom tree striker.
I usually do the shoot him in the face and then punch him very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, my buddy uses Lay Monarch and Astral on a Titan
Nice.
with frontal assault.
That is
so he can
gross.
play with Lay Monarch. When frontal assault's procced, he can one-shot body.
That's awesome.
It's pretty funny to see people peek the corner and die. So.
It's real easy to. That's why I love La Monarch, because most people don't realize that I still know where you're at with the damage tick.
Mm-hmm.
They know it with Wish Ender. They know not to peek corners with Wish Ender, but they don't realize it with La Monarch. And so I basically have a La Monarch with that damage tick. And still, I just can't see other people coming around the corner, just the one.
Mm-hmm. Unless you hit all of them with the proc.
Yeah.
You can get lucky sometimes.
This is true. All right, Blue, you ready?
Yes. Let me get this back up started. All right. Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on May 22nd, 2020, over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. As always, I want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us once again. This week's episode is going to be focused around exploring what could possibly lie ahead within Destiny. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the intro session of the week's exploration, and fair warning, it's probably going to be the only episode. We'll probably pair it with the top 3 that you would have already heard by the time you hear this episode. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
This is the in all white and a little bit of light blue green-eyed music lover. I changed my outfit on the game. I'm very proud of it.
I was like, I don't know what that means. But
I generally, I've always in the past ran a very dark, blacks and greens, sometimes reds type character.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel very, I don't know if this is a curse word, but I'm going to say it anyway. I feel very ballsy anymore in Crucible. So I'm in all white with a little bit of light blue now to go with my awoken complexion. It matches my blue eyes.
Very hunter of you to do the aesthetic. And last but definitely not in the least, in the hot seat as guest co-host, we have our good friend Garston. Gar, how are you doing?
Too bad. How you guys doing? I know we've been talking a bit, but
yeah, definitely.
My hunter's rocking Neopop Wave because I'm rocking the 80s look.
I like it. That pink
and the blue.
Purple.
Oh yeah. Yep. No pop wave for life. That's not coming off my hunter.
I like it. Yeah, no, since
my Titan's the one that's all dark and gloomy and
kind of.
So I'm in PvE. He's bright green.
I mean, happy Goth Day. We're recording this on May 22nd, 2020. So this is technically Goth Day, according to Raz's Twitter feed all day long today. But Garstone and I actually met through Issachal a couple months ago. We played together on PS4. I believe it was on PS4.
Yeah, I don't play on any other platforms.
Yeah. And we got to chatting a little bit about lore on there, and I just wanted to do a quick rundown for the folks who may not know you. Where can they find you on the interwebs?
So you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Garstone. That's Garstone. You can find me on Twitter, Garstone, but the O is a 0 because I can't get the other.
Mhm.
Is it?
Somebody stole it.
Yeah, it's his name, Gary
Ah,
Stone. So yeah, I don't think
gotcha.
he's ever given it up. But and then Discord, PSN, same thing.
Is
Garstone.
it as in the same as your Twitch or same as your Twitter?
Twitch, same as my Twitch. Sorry.
Gotcha. Yep, just wanted to make sure so if people wanted to find you, they can get a hold of you easily. So I wanted to start with our normal rundown of questions, Gar. What is your favorite lore story from Destiny?
My favorite lore from D1. So I played D1 a bit, up to House of Wolves. Then I quit halfway through, and then didn't come back till Cyrus.
Okay.
So my favorite lore, be the Rasputin stuff, the Warmind. Happy with, DLC. I was super pumped for this season. I've been very excited to find things out.
Yeah.
I was about to
That's
say,
kind of
man, you
been
probably
my.
are in. You're in hog
I'm
heaven
in
right now.
heaven, yeah, and like when I found out that, and like the Iron Lords lore and the tie-in with that, so my friends finally took me through Wrath of Machine 2 ago for my
Mm-hmm.
first clear, so I got to kind of learn a bit of the lore and talk to Saladin, and I went through all the storyline for that. And got really sad because I had to kill the Iron Lords. And,
Yeah. I mean, Wrath of the
I
Machine
mean,
was a great raid back in D1.
so the story mission killing Fellwinter and them in the Perfection Complex, or no, what was the room?
Iron Tomb.
Yeah. So that made me kind of sad. So like that whole story of Rasputin, the Warmind, tying the Siva into it, and then DLC, and then and all that. That's kind of been my favorite. And then I guess
Yeah.
the Fallen stuff. I love their story, and I'd love if they expanded more on it. We haven't really gotten
Mm-hmm.
a lot in Destiny 2 about Fallen, in my opinion, anyway.
Sure.
I wish they would expand more on. I'd like to learn more about the Whirlwind and like what actually happened to make the Fallen end up the way they are.
Why there's these
Stuff.
different factions fighting over different things.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, like I
House
understand the
Light
house,
and-
but like now there's really nothing left. So what's motivating them? Like I just want to know.
That's fair.
Well, like
far.
Mithrax and the House of Light and everything.
I'd love if they expanded that as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mithrax, we had that question the other day on Twitter on what if there's a house sigil tied to Mithrax.
Yeah.
I saw that. Did anybody?
So the one that he's wearing right now is the same as House Dusk, which is arguably the same as House Rain. The difference being that instead of the deep-seated purple like that you normally see on it,
blue now, right?
it's
red.
a dark, like
it red
almost
now?
blood red. It's not quite as dark red as the Devil's, but it's like a very royal red.
Fun tidbit, when we do the mission on Titan, I actually did it the other day on my Warlock, it's gray during that mission. It's
Really?
not
Mission.
red.
Well, because he was with.
But he was running with Rain at that, or with
that point.
Dusk, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
he?
He was with Dusk at the
I think he was still technically wearing Dusk color at that point, because the whole House Light thing really didn't, I think, come into full effect.
Not until later.
Until recently.
The 0 hour. Yeah, until right before 0 hour came out.
Well,
we had to do the mission and stuff. But he was supporting Guardians even back then, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think it was Xur, wasn't it, who helped?
Xur was the one who. Yes, Xur was the one who showed him kindness. Because he thought,
that's what turned.
That was the whole thing. He tried to jump off the cliff, and she was like, "Nope."
Well, and that's Xur helped him realize that not all
non-fallen
People.
are enemies.
humanity, or
Yep.
and then some guardians showed him kindness too. So
Yeah, because he had
some of us
he
chose
was
not
running.
to kill him.
Well, and also he had the fire team that he was running with.
Oh
I think
yeah,
it
well, that
I
was
think it
after we
the-
saved him, though. That was
Right,
after we didn't
yes,
kill him.
Yes, yeah. Our guardian canonically didn't kill him.
So
Even
here's
though,
one more.
interesting, it was a
The
choice.
option too. Yeah. Another question for you. Since you did not play after House of Wolves until after Curse of Osiris, I'm curious when you got into the lore of Destiny, because for me, I actually didn't really dive super deep into the lore until House of Wolves. It wasn't until that expansion that I actually got really sucked in. So I'm curious where you really found your passion for it.
So I got into the hype of Destiny during that like first E3 announcement in like 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So Destiny is the reason why I have a PS4. Play Destiny. So I caught up on every little tidbit I could until it got released, and then I think it was the alpha I played when it was just the moon missions. We had a couple of missions on the moon, and then you could just explore and dick around on there. But that started my, well, is there more to this game than just shooting aliens in the face and collecting loot? And then that's when I started, not that one did a great job in the lore / story department, but what was there intrigued me enough. The little tidbits, the ghost, when you do scan missions and
Mm-hmm.
you hear the speaker talk about, the golden age of humanity, and that's kind of what piqued my interest. And then the whole lead up to Era showing up in the tower, like that, I wanted to know more about the fire team that failed in the Hellmouth, and that kind of stuff really got to me. So I try to find every little, every scannable. That's when I started finding the ghosts, especially when the Reef came out, finding all the dead ghosts. Because that gave you I think those gave you the grimoire cards, right? So I'd read up on those on the website, which was kind of clunky, but it was all we had. So I try to.
For as much grief as Vanilla Destiny got for the storytelling, there are still so many people who are in love with the story that is there, that it makes you wonder if they really actually had too bad of a system back then.
So playing through it, I will say it was kind of bad. They could have done a better job, and we've heard about all the different things that happened.
Sure.
Now, with how things started going with Activision and all that stuff. So, I understand. I just wish we could have seen had planned. Because you can see where they were going with certain things, and then it just kind of went. I mean, that still kind of happens now.
Yeah.
More meat to things than there was back then. But what was there was great, because it let you to speculate, or until you found something, predicted it, or helped you flesh out where your thinking was going. So they've done a really good job. I mean, the grimoire card stuff was kind of clunky, but it worked at the time.
I still think there's aspects of the grimoire that are a little better for the delivery
gathering
system.
the lore together. Yeah, we miss a lot of lore. If it wasn't for the Ishtar Collective, all the lore on the weapons and the different ships and the sparrows and all that really not pieced together stuff, we'd lose. because they didn't really start building things until, right?
Well,
Like
and
we
they
had those
also
lore pieces
the
before,
Grimoire card
but
also gave a sense of organization. I think is the big thing for me that I miss about the Grimoire
you could
cards is
read. You
yeah,
could
well, and
read
it was
into
like
the same
implied.
story.
Yeah, it was implied that these were linked. Maybe not necessarily in the order that you got them, which is fine, but at least we knew like topically they were, the same category.
Mhm.
Whereas with the
You know,
lore
you had
entries,
Ghosts
it's like
5, and then you're like, oh, okay,
right,
there's
yeah.
5
Oh,
other
there's
cards I need to go find now.
there's at least 4 others somewhere out there.
And so that drove that kind of passion and interest. And that, so, getting the lore books, like when Forsaken came out, that was one of my driving factors. I would, if there was new lore that came out, I was going to get it. That was kind of my goal. I would go and find what I could. Same as try to read as much as I could on all the different armor and the weapons and stuff, and try to figure out where that all fit together. So I've spent, sure, Ishtar Collective's been a lot of free reading.
Yes.
Trying to catch up and try to piece some of the story together. So I really enjoy the fact that they've done a really good job doing that.
Yeah.
The stories together that aren't really apparent, that they are actually, related to each other.
Axter and the Ishtar team have done this community, in particular the lore community, such a huge service by taking care of that website the way they have. I don't think this community would be nearly as well thought out or well fleshed out if they hadn't.
I think there'd be more separation in the community if we didn't have that. Like we'd have very differing opinions that might not be correct if we didn't have that to piece everything together. Thing that really keeps me in is the Grimoire books that they've been putting out. So I own both of the available volumes, so I've been reading those. It was really cool because I missed out on like the whole Touch of Malice stuff.
Oh yeah.
So that's in the first Grimoire. Like I knew about the Books of Sorrow before because they mentioned that in the Dark Below. You didn't really get to read too much about it because it wasn't available till the calcified fragments and stuff.
Yes.
That is how you got those lore cards.
Yeah, but like there was always that inkling, you heard about it from the World's Grave when your ghost scans it. He mentions, in the Books of Sorrow, it says this. You're like, okay, well, what are the Books of Sorrow? So getting to read those was pretty cool in the anthology. And then the Touch of Malice stuff, and
Fun fact, as
was
far as
more.
since you, I was just going to say, fun fact, the return of a Touch of Malice like weapon, it's not Touch of Malice, is Tommy's Matchbook. The same mechanics in it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. But so it's helped. It helped me find out that Eris was still, a major player in that whole situation and stuff. So those Grimoire anthologies help catch me up quite a bit because like the second one's all about the Fallen and it has all the Wrath of Machine stuff that I might have missed, like that whole background and stuff. So
I think it's nice too that Bungie started putting those out just so people who may not have dived into the lore so much back in the day, and for those of us who did dive into the lore but don't know what's considered canon and what's not anymore, because technically all those lore cards are gone.
They're not. Well, that's a different debate for a different time.
Yeah, but anyway, it's nice to have that reaffirmed interesting lore cards in the background. All right, I think you kind of actually already answered the last question, which was what is your primary class? You mentioned that you played Titan.
Titan always going to be a Titan. I do play all three, but Titan is the character that I brought forward from D1. It's the only character I had played in D1. I do have a Warlock and a Hunter in D1, but they haven't even made it through the intro quests yet. So,
do you have a primary subclass that you play with it, or do you just use all of them?
I stick with. Lately, I've actually been a Thunder Crash Titan in PvP, just because it's so much fun doing the ballistic slam. Flying through the air. So in D1, I was a striker. I was a death from above guy. I loved that, flying through the air and slamming down. So
a little bit of Halo-esque feel to it.
I never played Halo, so but I got the, just that flying through the air and slamming down on people.
Yeah.
But when I started playing D2, Sunbreaker, the lore behind the Sunbreakers, and flaming hammer at people is really fun, and I laugh all the time when I do it.
You're one of those people.
Are you a little hammers, or are you a big hammer when you do your Sunbreaker?
I like the.
That's a great question, Green. Such a great question.
I actually like I used to like the code of the Devastator, so the big hammer. But I've been leading more on they call it the Siegebreaker, the one with the sunspots.
Okay.
I've been leaning on that one a lot more than the other ones. But I've played all three. For a long time, I did Top Tree. I don't remember what they call that one, but I like the little explodey hammers.
Yeah, the ones that are basically like mini grenades that will wait until you touch them and then blow you up.
Well, no, I like when you throw the hammer and explodes on the thing that it impacts and throws like little pieces of it all over the place.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
So Pens says Metal Tree Dune Marchers. Okay. Way more fun. Way more fun. I do Dune Marchers with Devastator because I feel like Thor. I throw the little hammer and it does the lightning. So when you throw the hammer, if you have linear actuators activated, it does the lightning around it when it impacts. Thor, it just doesn't come back to you when you throw it. That's all. Sunbreaker. I love that hammer.
That is
I my worm gods for that.
If you want a bow build, that's actually the bow build that Dwyer will use. He will do Le Monarch and that middle tree with the tiny hammer, and he'll use this hammer as his final shot.
Yeah, I get it. It does enough damage. Yeah.
It's
especially if it's with worm gods on.
You don't have to worry about switching weapons. Yeah, he's pretty gross with that. But
I don't use Antea swords. I've never used them because I just don't slide enough. I like flying through the air more than sliding on the ground. So.
And this is why we're friends.
I mean, if we had Twilight Garrison, I'd be all over that. I missed the days of Twilight Garrison, but I've seen what it can do. Yeah, that would be my go-to exotic if it was around. So.
Sure. Well, Blue, I think we are ready to move on to the topic of the night, the looking forward topic. How do we want to start this?
I guess just really, obviously since we're going to be talking about, I guess, if you did not get the clue from the title, we're not going to hold back on spoilers that have been released in game. Granted, by the time this comes out, you should well be aware of everything that we're going to probably be talking about, but just in case you somehow have missed those updates, that just fair warning, Fellwinter's Lie and all that stuff is fair game. So I think that is the only really caveat that I was kind of planning on, like being like, hey, don't be surprised about that piece. Other than that, really, I'm curious it's going to be kind of a little bit more freeform conversation than, this book says this. But I'm just kind of curious what your guys' thoughts were like around. For me personally, I'm more interested in like seeing what could possibly happen with like the city, and from a political standpoint, more than
Okay, so
anything. But
starting with humanity and where we think they're going, or if they're going anywhere,
if
or
they're
if they're
going
just
anywhere, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I guess the big question is, do we save the last city from the Almighty crashing into it?
I'm pretty sure we are going to. How that's going to play out, like, I mean, Almighty is really massive, so
Sure.
apart into tiny, tiny, tiny little pieces with, if the city is going to survive.
The thing that I worry about with that is they really haven't built it up besides it's this incoming impact, this impending doomsday countdown, right? Like that's the mechanic they're using it as. With that being
Sort of,
the
yeah.
main drive, do we think that it's actually like, is it just going to disappear? Because if we take it out with the help of Rasputin,
You still
it's
have debris.
honest. There's debris and it's
Yeah.
kind of anticlimactic because we haven't had that much to do with it besides
I think
the Seraph
honestly,
towers.
I don't know if this is what's going to happen, but I think it would be. This is my more sadistic side kind of showing through. But I personally think it would be hilarious if we make it miss Earth and instead hit another planet. And it's not the darkness that takes out another planet, it's actually us. Like,
Rip.
I'm like,
the way
like
of Rasputin. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, like it's because of our actions actually that we destroy that we destroy something rather significant.
Sorry, Mercury.
Yeah, well, and I mean, like it's probably gonna. I still think it's gonna be Titan, but whatever. I don't know.
So
It can't be Mercury because it's already left Mercury.
No. So, have you guys seen any of the spoilers and leaks that have been coming out? I don't know how accurate, obviously, because they're leaks. But according to Game Rant article that came out this week, the actual planet disappearing or the moon disappearing is Titan, according to that article.
To me, I have not seen that. The reason why I kind of would not be surprised by Titan, the reason I wouldn't be surprised by Titan is just simply because of the whole Krakenmare thing all of a sudden popping back up. There was really there's
no reason for
nothing to connect to it except for another sudden catastrophe.
Well, there's another thing that Black Flag mentioned to me in a different stream earlier today is that if you look at Sloane's inventory,
it says limited time on it.
It does. It's listed as a limited time.
Still there?
I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's any other vendor in the system that has that.
Well, I saw that come up last week, and Anna's was doing it too. So I don't know if that's just
because I don't know. I don't know about that because I guess my only thought there is could that be because of a weekly reset? I honestly don't pay attention to planetary vendors anymore.
Right.
So I'm the worst person to.
That's why I'm asking if other vendors have it as well. Because
I know it came up. I saw it on Twitter, and somebody posted a picture of Anna's.
Oh, Pins says in chat there is always a weapon that is for a limited time.
No, but it was on the emblem, not.
Oh, so it was like on just like general inventory. I mean, again, to me, like taking all the little spoilers or leaks or whatever, just from like a story standpoint, I still think Titan just makes the most sense.
Sure.
If we're gonna have
the lore from
Krakenmare, and then you had the double down of the Krakenmare lore with the whole hacking of Zavala's ghost, or take whatever you want to call it, taking control by Rasputin. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, it's weird because there's like the context doesn't exist really for that whole story in my
the
head.
other thing that you have to remember is that the primary and like protagonist on Titan was, or like not the protagonist, the antagonist was the Zavathun tie-in, and Zavathun's now so tied into the Dreaming City. Does it even make sense that Titan's around at this point? Because is she fighting on two fronts, or is she fighting on one front? Where is her
I'm trying
home
to
base?
remember, because the other thing is the other really current thing with Savathun is actually on Io. It's not on Titan because that's the whole what's the strike?
Core.
Yeah,
the festering core.
Yeah. Because there's the whole debate between Zavala and Eris about knowing what she's gonna do.
Yeah. There's that. So
which makes me sad because Titan's really like I actually really like Titan. Like I really want to know.
Dude, I want more. I want more arcology. There's so much there.
Well, it's just and it's not even really just the arcology. It's like the whole thing. Like the whole thing with Titan was that it was a human project to try to replicate, what the Traveler did. So there's so much wealth of information that would be really cool to see. But the other reason I kind of pick on Titan is because you see the abuse of power by an Exo and by Rasputin. And with the whole thing,
Rasputin, it was,
And so like with the whole thing with this whole,
my thing with that is, what did they find on Titan that caused him to hunt down that?
Well, it was the same. I still argue that it was the same thing that they found on the moon. It's connected to the
other anomaly.
Well, the anomaly was communicating with something out in deep space, right? And we now have Anna has experienced the deep space anomaly. Osiris has experienced the deep space anomaly, and Osiris actually brought it. And like Osiris actually went into the anomaly. Anna and I think Jinju was the one that was like, "Let's get out of here."
Get out of here. Yeah.
And Rasputin was with her, which I still, if I remember the timing, I think
through
it was
the helmet.
Well, I think it was because of that encounter that he was able to tell Osiris about that. I want to say that was the timing thing. So I mean, like I don't know, like I
just
to be honest, if I had a choice, I would get rid of. Honestly, I'd get rid of Earth because I'm like
the 80s.
I'm like, it's just
I don't
too
much tied to it though.
But the
Earth, and that's
like
the thing.
EDZ and the dark or like the shard and everything, it's so stinking important to a lot of the story.
And the plague lands are still there. The
I don't. Full disclosure, I don't see it happening. But like for
I would
me,
rather them get rid of Nessus. Like I like failsafe.
Nessus is on the.
I mean, Leviathan's still eating Nessus.
That's what I was about to say. Nessus is just like Titan. Actually, there is a looming threat that it would very neatly explain Nessus being taken out.
What if they got rid of both? Let's do that.
Honestly, I'm okay with that because I mean Nessus. The only reason Nessus to me stands out is because of the connection to the Vex. But
everyone's mad at me in chat because of failsafe disappearing at that point.
Okay, but this is okay. Hear me out though.
Evacuate.
We've seen, and we kind of talked about this before we started the recording. We have now evidence that an AI level entity can be put into a platform. So
a different one.
I mean, I know Green is gonna. Yeah, I know Green is gonna kill me. Yeah, I know she's not happy.
Which would be the whole Chronicon tie-in at that point. But
right. Well, I mean,
no.
Yeah, how true. Yeah. Then you bring the Chronicon in, but I don't want to because I don't believe in it.
But you want to get those sweetmeats, Green.
I don't think we're gonna see, like, we're gonna save the city through Rasputin. Almighty's gonna get blown up. Happen.
I would
the
bet.
last city is going to go anywhere, because then we start, the last city disappears, then in a
What's the
way
point?
Well,
Bungie
I mean that.
supporting the dead orbit at that point.
Yes, I was just about to say
Well-
we have the Ghost Fragment dead orbit with the mobile fleet.
Right? Like, well, that's dead orbit's whole philosophy is take everybody in the city, get the
And get
heck
out.
out of here.
Decentralize
Here's-
the threat. Yeah.
So
Well,
I
if
mean,
that's the point, what if we lose the Traveler completely?
I
don't
have that
think
as
we're
I
going
have
to.
that as a actual question actually.
Yeah, you think?
My belief is we're not going to, but I mean,
Well, I mean, there's
Now
a
that
whole
it's-
host of really fun rabbit hole questions could bring up that I would be
Mhm.
really excited to see. Like not the least of which is what happens to Guardians because we are the Traveler's energy. Like that's where we get
Yeah.
our powers is the Traveler's light. So if the Traveler is gone, what happens?
we lose our light. Yeah.
The
You know?
Traveler allows us to
True
channel
enough.
it for sure.
Well,
No,
the
I mean,
ghosts
but I mean,
allow
we
us to channel.
yeah,
it.
the
Right.
ghosts because we've always been described as those who are imbued with the Traveler's light.
Right.
So through
But-
the ghost, the traveler gives us.
Right,
Leaning.
but the light itself, the power of the light isn't. We're able to use it because of the Traveler's connection to us. But
Correct.
the light itself is an energy force. If we're gonna get into like
Oh,
the Star Wars
yes.
aspect, it's a
It would
force
be-
that.
It is.
Mm-hmm. No, keep going, Greg.
What?
Yep.
What if this is way out there in left
What?
field? What if the Traveler gets destroyed completely,
Mm-hmm.
but we figure out a way
Mm-hmm.
to
Keep going.
actually I know you know where I'm going. That we
I'm so
actually-
excited.
I know you're excited that we actually are able to utilize the light on our own without the need of a Traveler being the godparent that's giving us the ability kind of thing. It's just I don't know how to describe it.
It's
It's a
interesting-
return. It's a
an
return to
interesting
the.
thought.
It's a return to the shamanistic model that we saw kind of being presented within the Taken King. And then
Mhm.
also, we also have evidence of a alternate source of power with the shard of the Traveler. And so it
Yeah,
like
but it's still part of the traveler, though. That's
right,
the
but if the
thing.
Traveler gets destroyed, similar to the Almighty, it's still going to have debris. And we've proven
There's-
that the
yeah,
residual
but the traveler
energies
is still alive to keep that shard.
right, but
Shard
is it
up, right?
is
But-
it
but
the
it's called
is
out
it
that
the
that
direct
no, go for it, Green. Sorry.
the shard of the Traveler, us attuning ourselves to the shard of the Traveler means that if the big part of the Traveler, the normal Traveler, if that got destroyed, would we still technically have our powers because we were attuned to the shard, not the base of the Traveler?
Right.
That would also imply the aspect of perhaps you don't have to have the Traveler at this point. Perhaps you only need to be attuned to even a portion of it. And how does that even work?
Well, and that
It's
goes
just
back
the
into our ghost
realigning.
actually from the Traveler.
Love that debate, you know that.
Oh no, I know. But I mean, but going along, that's an easy way to
So the
answer
only-
that debate is if the ghosts are actually made of the pieces of Traveler, then you would say no, the Traveler doesn't need to be there if all you need is a fragment of the Traveler, because you have a fragment of the Traveler traveling around in your backpack.
Yeah, but it's a channel. The
Right,
traveler is
right,
still giving us
right.
powers. It doesn't come from the ghost. They pull their power from traveler. So the way I
Yeah.
look at this is, if you look back in, I mean, how honest can we believe the Books of Sorrows? But when they talk about the gift spire,
Mm-hmm.
that was imbued with the traveler's light, but it was still the traveler was still alive, so they still gained the power.
Sure.
The question comes down, if I don't think if the traveler dies, I don't think those shards would still. It's only because they have a connection to the traveler still that they're still active.
And my
Is
only
that the case though? Because
yeah,
of
because
the
we
That's my
have
belief. That's my belief. That's my
Because
belief.
there is a scannable in the EDZ that calls out that it's not necessarily connected, because it's a commingling of the Traveler's Light with something darker or something more. I can't remember if it's the word
because it's been broken. They use
darker,
not necessarily darkness, but it's darker, and I think that's why we're able to walk Shin's a line that he was looking for in a Guardian.
Well,
that's why he backed off. Is because we were able to bridge the two because of our connection to that shard that's been corrupted.
I don't necessarily
that shard's
think
not.
that's the case, because Shin wasn't necessarily connected to that shard.
But he was looking for somebody that was able to walk both lines.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I think that is another topic to come up. It was something that came up quite a bit on Twitter today, is the idea of us utilizing darkness versus light in the future. We've already been towing that line.
I don't think, because Shin said if we do dip down there, he's going to come back and kill us. So I don't think we're going to go that route. I don't think that's where Bungie wants us to go. Especially with the story. I mean, you start embracing the darkness, we're no longer the heroes of humanity. It's kind of the role we've been playing. We're are the last hope of the only ones that have been doing anything in the world, right? It always comes down to us to save everybody. So I don't think that this is going to happen.
Blue?
Because then we're not. Again, that's the way I look at it. I don't think we're going to get that power just because we become the exact opposite of what we've been the whole time.
Sounds good.
Blue, I mean, I agree with that. Like, I think that is along the lines of my thoughts. Not only that, but like the whole, like, breaking the fourth wall there too. You would have to have a lot more player freedom, because you would have to then allow for players to choose more than just 3 subclasses. You would have 6 subclasses basically, or 5 subclasses, or whatever, because if you're going to have a darkness, you're going to have a dark mirror of each one, arguably. But like that much, I mean, the whole, this is me kind of breaking fourth wall, but the whole thing about losing a planet is that they don't want to tax more resources. And so like losing a planet is one thing because that's a play space, and I can see how that frees up a lot of space. But then turning around and being like, yeah, we're going to double everyone's subclass. It's like, I don't see that's going to free resources.
That's not what I mean, though. I don't necessarily think Dark Guardians is, at least in that respect, of having our Guardian have a darkness version of each subclass. I'm thinking more like Shin, where you're following a darker path. We've already been set on that path multiple times for various different reasons.
Right.
Whether it's killing Aldrin and Forsaken, or the way that we handle things with Shadowkeep and Eris. There are a lot of different things that are a little bit not kosher as far as the quote-unquote being the light side of things versus the dark side of things. That's more of what I'm meaning. I'm not saying they're going to create a secondary class.
Well, and I mean,
but we've already redeemed ourselves from that by creating Luminon cleansing the original Thorn, right? That's,
and I guess not to pick the bone on the whole Forsaken thing too, but it's also not canonically confirmed that we were the ones that killed Aldrin.
We were the one that pulled the trigger. Yeah. No, but they haven't really said who's pulled that trigger yet.
So. Right. Well, and I hope, I mean, to be fair, I hope they don't, because then it allows the player the illusion of having that choice still. That's something.
Like, to me, I really think it was Petra that pulled it.
I mean, cannot in my head canon. I like to think that too, because I don't.
To her, she had more. To her, it was more like getting to Aldrin meant more to her than us. killed her entire people. She failed the queen to keep them safe, right? He betrayed everything that the Awoken were. So I could see her, and she was, to take him out, you know, as
Well, I
revenge
mean,
on
again, but then that again goes
killing all
back
the
to
Awoken.
I don't know. Like I have my own
Tangent.
opinion about the quote unquote morality that we have been
Mhm.
given as guardians, because really honestly we haven't been given that choice.
No.
And it just, to me, that bugged me, because I'm like, my experience with morality goes from like Fallout, and where it actually has an impact on the game. Like I think
Mm.
putting a shoehorned choice into a game, to me, is not the same as giving your players a choice. And I think that, as far as like, especially when you start talking about guardians with light and dark and yada yada, I think that becomes even more important, to let your players have a choice. Like, let them choose. Does your guardian walk the path of the shadow, or do they stay in the light, or do they fully embrace the dark? But and I know Pins had kind of answered. I know Green, you had put this question out on Twitter, I think earlier today. But like, that was one of the things, is like, if we're going to go down this road, then you got to let our choices have more impact. Like the Vanguard versus Drifter.
Well, give us the actual choice, and I don't think they're ever going to go that
right. Right. Which, I mean, don't mishear me. I am completely fine with them not actually giving us a choice, but then like on the flip side though, then don't pretend like you did. Like, don't call it a morality choice and then not have it impact.
Well, I mean, we've done fits the narrative they want to tell, right?
Right.
So there's been a morality thrown on us, but we got the choice, well, quote unquote, the choice to cleanse the original Thorn. Yes, we had to do some shady stuff, but we had to do shady stuff to even get Thorn in D1.
Right. Well, and like,
and kill people. Right?
The whole thing with that I like as a good example is the whole Vanguard Drifter debate, right? Like, I think that was an awesome quest, and it did really. I liked how, like, there was in that season a quote unquote cost to pay, because if you didn't choose the Vanguard, you didn't get the full lore book. Like you literally didn't get the full story if you chose the Drifter, and there was a cost.
When you got to see that, let you see both sides, because the character Anor, how do you say her name?
Anor, yeah.
She saw Drifter as big bad evil man.
Right.
So
and she grew, and she then came, and then she grew, like she came to understand that it was like, oh, okay, this makes more sense.
He comes from, like, the Drifter's a really good example of what our guardian could be, because he comes from a different time before the Guardians, and he's never embraced the Vanguard. He's never embraced as to follow that rigid structure. He's that gray path.
So where would you take the story then? If the Guardians...
With humanity, or just overall?
I was just thinking in regards to the
like
idea of
the Gray Guardian or whatever.
Yeah. Where would you take the story in regards to that? Or would you even take it, or would you just be like,
I think we're already in that. We're already in that Gray Guardian. To me, we're in that Gray Guardian.
I mean, I think my hesitation is, like, if you go down that path,
it's really hard. It's really hard, because you look at
there's
how
so
the
many
Fallen see us.
Yeah,
we're the big bad evil people destroying their way of life, right? Like, and you start getting to the whole perspective thing. You look at that, but
well, and I mean, the other thing too is, like, if we're gonna go down that path, then, you know, figuratively or, well, literally speaking too, you have to have a story for each path. And like, you know, what's the like,
and we
as
don't
much
have,
as
they don't have the development time for
right,
that.
and that's what that's where ultimately I'm going to come down to. I don't see it happening because of the outside of game resources limitation, which I'm completely whatever. That's fine. I completely understand that. Like if we had all the resources in the world, I would absolutely love to see an actual moral path, you know, like, you know, hey, your choice here is you take this bounty to assassinate this one character. You know, you see another Mithrax quest line where if you chose to kill the NPC, you know, your guardian actually has, you know, a renown system, or, you know, something like a faction standing system that is tallying up stuff. The problem with
kind of like the World of Warcraft style.
Yeah, or like Fallout, you know, again, Fallout, the moral system of that.
When I used to play World of Warcraft, like you could fight, you know, back one faction, but it made your standing with the other one.
Yeah. So I mean, and
really
it's
bad,
like,
right?
but in the thing that's interesting there is, you know, you have to merge the whole thing with this MMO-esque thing that they keep trying to do. And how do you do that within, you know, canonical storytelling? Which I think the answer there would be have your system based off bounties, not have them based off story missions. Like, you know, you get X amount of NPC, you know, how you accomplish the bounty is more important than if you accomplish. If you, and then you can say canonically that this character was, you know, this NPC X was killed, but the method in which they were handled affects the morality of, you know, or the allegiance, the overall allegiance to a specific faction. You know, like, you know, your Dead Orbit faction is not, if you choose to side with Spider, Dead Orbit's not going to like you because he keeps stealing their shipments. You know, like actually have a balance between the factions. Make the factions, to me, making the factions relevant would make me want to come back so much more, because I actually really care about what's going on with those stories. I'm really interested in how the factions
gives you that player buy-in.
Well, and it also gives you a pulse on what's going on within the city. Like that to me is what I care about.
And that's one thing that is kind of missing. You just, city's there and you just never.
Well, and that's why like I know the Guardian games is a very touchy subject, but I mean, that was why I was kind of disappointed when we didn't get Faction Wars back. We got the Guardian games. I was like, to me, the faction
was the faction.
Well,
that
not
was
Faction Wars, but like Faction Rally.
That was the Faction Rally without calling it the Faction Rally.
Right.
Just
I mean, but it was a Faction Rally that you didn't have a choice on who you pledged allegiance to. Like, you know, it was class instead of faction, which I mean,
there's a lot of discussion behind that. I was not impressed with.
But I mean, like, to me, the Faction Rally would have been so much more cool because it would have been an option to expand that story. That's a story I really want to see, is like, I want to see the development of that, you know, that how are they handling the whole thing with the Vanguard being broken? How are they handling?
They're not going to, because the Almighty and the destruction of the, like, that's not.
But we're gonna pause pause everything to have Olympics in the middle of it.
And I mean, the stupid thing with the Almighty is, like, yes, it's supposed to be a doomsday clock, but there's really no in-game, like, oh my god, this is impending doom. I don't see the Almighty.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I get what you're saying, Green, but at the same time, this city has been, like, in game, the city has been bouncing from one emergency to another so much that it's like eventually the Piper's going to come for his bill. And
Yeah, I want the city gone. I just destroy it, get rid of it. Get rid of the factions, get rid of the stupidity tied to the factions. I'm sorry.
Well, you're not going to
it's
get.
a little.
You're not going to get rid of factions. I mean, that's a human
Oh,
trait.
why not? We can. I mean, you're gonna get rid of the new monarchy if there's no city to have.
Oh, you mean like get rid of the existing factions?
Them in that.
I mean, I'm talking larger picture. You're always going to have factions. Like humanity can't do anything without.
You're always gonna have the bad guys and good guys, light versus dark thing too, but it's juvenile to think you're not going to have that.
Oh yes,
to be honest.
But that's what I mean. Is like that's why I want to know the details of that story. Is because with all that going on, it's like, I mean, okay, sure, let's get rid of the city, whatever. We still have the trauma. Now we have the extra trauma of, oh God, everything's that we love is dead and gone. But, you know, like, how are we going to do that? Like, that's where I'm really curious, and really that's what gets me kind of like excited about the story is like, how do you respond to this stuff? Like, what is your politics? You know, how does that change in this time of a black swan event? You know, because that's what that is.
Here's my question, and please let me finish before jumping in on any of this. With the move into Shadowkeep, that direction of things getting very bleak and very dark, and our guardians having to deal with some very messed up stuff of their own past, and other guardians having to deal with their own past themselves, like Eris, do we think that the tie-in with Eris and Mara and Savathun and all that stuff that happened on the moon with that pyramid is going to tie in very strongly to this next season because of everything going on with Rasputin? Are they going to actually put those threads together in this tapestry?
I'm hoping that they bring some story threads together, but with my friends the other day, and Bungie has, in my opinion, been really bad at finishing story threads and tying them down. Like this, the Lie Quest finally tied some D1 story threads.
And that's been in the works for 4 years.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to see that. We're going to see the culmination of, you know, we finally figure out what she's been doing, what she's been up to. I don't think we're going to see Savathun. I don't think we're going to see the Pyramid Fleet till the fall. Then that's the cynical look at it, just because they've done such a bad job at Reds, in my opinion.
The thing is that's what keeps you coming. That's
yeah,
the thing.
But like I've been pretty disappointed, and there's a lot of story threads that I'm totally hyped about, and then it just goes.
That's just maybe because they're waiting for it to actually come out.
So the biggest one that got me was, you know, you waited 12 weeks for Truth to Power to finish. With you know, we got the lore book, the last PE, and that was it. You know, there was no. So we know we got the Truth to Power. Now we know what's going on. Blah blah blah. You know it. I don't have a very bright. It's coming next season. I don't think it's going to tie up any story threads. I think they're going to introduce new ones. Or add more lore and just not answer anything.
I think like the whole thing with Eris and Mara is like, I mean, the whole thing with her, and I think Green, you mentioned this too about the connection there with Savathun. Savathun has been set up as like the next really big bad, until I think until we get closer to the resolution with the pyramids, whatever that resolution is, I don't see Savathun. Like, there might be murmurs of Savathun's movements, but I don't see that particular story thread jumping out fully, because that's not the cadence that this story has taken.
Yeah. I think we'll get something for that story in the fall.
I think we'll get something that will continue. I don't see them abandoning it, but I don't see necessarily like a resolution tie-in or anything like that. Like, not a big tie. I just, and that's simply because right now the current big thing is these Dorito ships. The Almighty is the immediate problem, right? That's hopefully going to get resolved at the end of this season. After that, then we have the onslaught of, the Doritos. We got to figure that out. And then that's going to put us in, what will that be? Season 12, which will be the ultimate end to the year, I think, right? Which I think at that point, if we're going to go with like cadence of, stories that we've seen in the past, maybe at the end of that season, we'll get, a big reveal of, next season we go up against something that starts the arc of Savathun's invasion, or, something like that. But like, I think right now the focus that, at least as I have seen it, has been this whole corrupting force from the pyramids, which, I mean, I still want to know how Guardians are dealing with the massive amount of trauma that everything caused. Like, not just our Guardian, but like, I mean, we haven't gotten updates from a lot of people. Like, I want to know how Asher's doing, because Asher was already kind of traumatized by stuff. And
the Vex.
Yeah, I mean, like, the Vex thing, his whole fear of mortality in general, like, that's a huge story that's not been really updated much. So, like,
it's just a thing in the game.
I mean, it hurts to say that, but I don't see that getting tied up until the end of not this season or even next season. I think that's going to be a while before we get anything further. Now, whether or not, I'm just trying to think, because the other thing is we haven't had a lot of updates on Fallen, and so I'm hoping we get that, and that's gonna, that.
Well, that we have kind of season. We might see
we have whispers. Come out. We have whispers of development with that, with the whole was it the maintenance log entry, where Osiris has told Saint 14 to go meet with the House of Light. So like there's murmurs there. There's a lot of cool political possibilities there, because what happens if the city makes a ruling to let the Fallen exist, beside them. I mean, that would just be it'd be just so interesting. How did that work?
That'd be really big, that one. Yeah.
Well, right. I mean, that it would be huge. Like, you have Fallen coexisting with humans. I mean, you already kind of have Fallen coexisting with Guardians insofar as the House of Light. So to me, seeing the city kind of embrace that logic would be really interesting to see. And
I don't think.
Go for it.
I don't think we'll see a culmination of the whole Savathun pyramid ship, but I think we'll see movement in the fall. I don't think we're going to see anything until then.
Well, and that's what Black Flag's kind of talking about too. Is he's like, does it even need to be tied up? I mean, I guess Green,
I would like to see stories finally get tied up, but that's just
but I mean, that goes back to the whole point of the story too. Is like, the story is an ever evolving thing. So
but it'd be nice that they finished threads that they leave, and they did say back before Shadowkeep came out, we want to start tying threads up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really haven't seen that other than finally this season we got story thread tied up of Fellwinter and Rasputin and
Well, Green, what do you
speculation.
think? Do you think they're going to tie it up?
Did we lose her again?
Oh, I think
No.
she might have. Is she there? There she is.
I'm muted. Do I think they're going to tie up which part?
The whole thing with Eris and Mara and Savathun.
I don't know if Savathun will be involved, but I think Mara will come up again, and I think Eris will be a conduit for it. That's my personal opinion. I think that I don't necessarily think the Dreaming City storyline will get wrapped up in any way, shape, or form, but Mara is, even in this season, even within Trials and Tribulations with what's his face from Mercury, Brother Vance's story, there's still a tie-in with Mara even in that. So I think she's still going to be a prominent player, even if it's in the background of things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to just write her story off because she's too involved in everything.
Oh no. Yeah, I think her story is not going to get written off.
Do you think that Eris would be more of the person bringing Mara back than Petra?
Yes. Eris has worked more actively with Mara than Petra has, unfortunately, for Petra.
Well, Petra is a lieutenant. She's the one who's always done Mara's bidding, so she's not going to be the go-between, I don't think, with Mara and us. I think Eris has a lot more involvement in Mara's deeper plans than
and if you look at
by long ways.
When you look at the Taken King stuff, it was Eris working Mara that working.
Yeah, I guess Petra. My question there is because with Mara, she has the whole curse of the Dreaming City looming over right now, which has been technically broken, if I remember canonically.
I don't think.
I know, like in
the. Are you meaning the truth to power aspect? Because technically, that could be.
The curse is still there. Yeah, the curse is still there. It hasn't
Is the cycle still going? Because I thought that was the whole thing with Riven.
Yeah, the cycle's still going.
Okay.
The thing is you can actually...
Game-wise, they just gave it to us the whole time now because it's old content.
You can get into Shattered Throne the whole time. That's the big difference.
But canonically, it's still on that 3-week cycle. Petra still moves through the city as the weeks go on. And then she resets and everything comes back. I don't go there because it still does the cycle.
So this was actually something brought up in other circles. Do we think they would get rid of the Dreaming City? Not necessarily right away. Not like the idea of Titan disappearing.
There's a line.
We solved
go for it.
I think if the curse, it would go away because it's anymore. But then that takes away a whole lot of.
There's a line from Zavala that talks about since the reef is in so much trouble, it is an opportunity for the city to expand. So if anything, we could possibly also see a affiliation between the reef and the city like.
Well, they were already kind of working on that through, Petra and us and the things that went down. But
here's the difficult thing with the curse, and everyone's like they need to end the curse. If they end the curse, there goes an entire raid. And that is a huge amount of content. That's
why I'm leery about it disappearing because of that whole tie-in with. Lose that
well, do they?
raid,
but do they? Because
they've never done that before.
No. I mean, okay, so like, I see. I slightly disagree because you could still have the content with moving the story forward, like the same way that you still have heroic story missions as being a meditation. Like, I mean, gameplay wise, I don't know. I
I don't
understand
know
what
how
you're
you would do
saying,
that.
but like I've seen other games do similar concepts and it doesn't affect the
I
story.
think the curse ending is tied into Mara story coming back, Savathun and that sort of thing. We need all that to come back because Savathun's to
Right,
the whole
yeah.
Dream
Like,
City stuff.
but I mean,
So
like, I'm
without,
just saying there's a
well, I'm
way
just
around getting rid of the curse without having to sacrifice the raid.
raid, like you could put like a raid
It could be an like
director thing, like the Vanguard
Mhm.
strikes. You
Yep.
could do something like that, I guess. That's
Yeah,
true.
or and Stealth Vixen's saying this in chat right now, but like, there's heroic strikes that still have
Have Cade
Cade
in it. Yes,
have
there is.
Cades in
Well,
it.
you
I
look at
mean,
the arms dealer. It's still
yep.
Cade at the
It's
beginning.
still I mean, it's Cade, the arms dealer is
Exodus strike.
yeah, all of most of
Exodus
the
crash.
strikes
Yeah.
will have those. And that's because I think, I've always kind of understood those as being kind of after you run them for the first time, they kind of become similar to the way that they did the heroic story missions back. Is
With the meditations at
they're just like
Ikora's
meditations and
thing.
remembrances, yeah.
Yeah, I could see them doing that. To advance that story, I don't think we'll see something until Savathun's actually, I'm not really passing that through properly because I don't know how to describe it, but like Savathun continuation because of how tied in to the story of the Dreaming City she's been. Like, yes, it's kind of moved on to, I always gotten involved with the festering core and stuff, but kind of the core of her plans,
Her storyline.
yeah, because she sent her daughter to uh into the distributary, and that's where kind of Shadow to Throne stuff takes place. So
Oh, with the Duel and Caro thing.
yeah,
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 she sent
like she's
Duel
still
to
tied directly into that's tied directly to Savathun.
yeah.
So until we get movement on that whole thing, I don't think anything's going to happen Dreaming City wise. I'd love to
Greenway.
see something, but I get it. Yes, the community would lose their poop. Yep. Very much.
Do you
Green, what
think
do you
there's going to
think?
be any evolution of Guardians?
Oh my gosh, I hope so. I it goes back to my I think that goes back to my answer about like the concept of like darkness, right? Is like I would absolutely lose my mind if we could have like even if it was aesthetic, like we read all this stuff about in the lore of all these guardians with like these personalized supers and stuff like that. I think it would be really cool to see something like that and to have it like reflect like the personality of the guardian, or however you want to frame it. um I think that if we could get it where like I was saying, like you have a bounty board where it's like, all right, this is the bounty, you have to kill him, but you have a choice of going this way or this way. Seeing like a scale of how many guardians did the quote unquote light path versus the dark path, or like something like that. I think that would be really cool. um I just sadly I don't see it happening. I don't know if there's enough uh hardware or
There's not. I
resources
don't
to
think
do
there's
it.
enough built into Destiny for
I
that.
think you could do
Succeed.
it. um but yeah, I just sadly I don't know if they have the bandwidth to do it.
Personally, I just don't think there's in the game to do that right now.
What do you think, Green?
Oh, I would love to see it.
I don't know. I don't know at this point. Do we think we're going to get any sign of Aldrin?
Oh,
I hope so.
I hope
Personally,
so.
I hope so, because I'd love. I mean, yes, we got that little lore tidbit, a ship from the Dawning, and I love redemption stories. I mean, I just actually watched Avatar: The Last Airbender weeks ago because we've had it on Netflix for a while, and I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never seen it before. And Zuko is my favorite character. I don't know if you guys have watched.
Yeah,
Avatar.
Zuko. Yeah, his arc is very.
And his entire arc, and like, yes, Aang's was good. Yes, the other characters were good, but Zuko's, there was just so much growth and change in that character, and it was so well written. Character out of both series now.
Green, are you looking forward to
kind of see him
Aldrin?
as Aldrin? I kind of see that. Can kind of see that happening for Aldrin too. Like, he deserves a redemption arc like that. I can't stay in a cargo crate for much longer. Blank slate, but the rest of the universe knows who he is. Have to forgive him. That could be part of the arc.
Well, yeah, because then you also will see the evolution of the Vanguard as well, because their personal tie to it. I mean, I'm hoping.
Well, Ikora still has
that.
Ikora still has the anger about Cade being killed. I don't know how Zavala would react, but then our Guardian, how they would react to the person responsible for Cade's death. I like redemption stories, and that, Destiny is one of the better ones, right? There isn't really room for redemption stories.
That one in itself is one of the more powerful ones.
I think Aldrin's story is done. I don't think we're going to get more. I think they had that thread there. You talk about how Bungie has so many open threads that they won't finish those stories. I think they create those threads as an emotional draw-in for a lot of different stories, but I don't think that those threads are necessarily all going to be used because there's too many stories out there that could be finished, that they take the direction of the primary story where they will, and have these secondary stories that they have the option of telling. For years we were told that we were going to get nothing on the Iron Lords, and look, we have a whole book
DLC.
devoted. And that, I mean, not just the DLC from Rise of Iron, but this whole season is not only about Rasputin, but also about more of what happened with the Iron Lords and the story with Fellwinter. So it's an option. Do I think they'll take that option? I doubt it. I highly doubt that Aldrin is coming back in any capacity. With the way that lore card, that little tidbit that everyone talks about, I don't think they're going to bring him back. I think it's too easy to just use that as the ending point and just call it good there.
Yeah. Well, that being said,
still deserve a Vanguard.
That being said, though, that is also how they write those deliberately that way too, right? Because that's the whole thing with Shin, was that's John wrote those all so that they could be the one ending if they needed.
Yeah. Stories hanging so that they can go look at the Fellwinter stuff and the Iron Lords. That was left as story threads hanging long ago. Now they just address them again and ties them off.
Because that same argument, Green, you could say about Mara too, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
In some ways.
I mean,
If they
Mara
weren't
is such a large character. I don't see that happening. But technically,
leaving
the
her
last
threads alone. Yeah.
well,
I don't
no,
see
but I
that
mean, like
happening.
technically, the last we heard was everything was wrapped up for the most part with her, and she went somewhere. Like, you know, I mean, same as what happened with Taken King. As far as most people knew in Taken King up until recent, she was dead. That was the end of Mara's story.
Yeah.
You know, and then
True.
lo and behold, she came back. And I don't. I think Mara is of such importance to the story. I don't see that happening,
Yeah.
but I think that's a deliberate action on a lot of their stories because of the uncertainty that the future has. So,
Yeah.
but I think
it's an
also,
interesting
I'll go for it.
I was just gonna say it's an interesting concept to write an open story like that where there isn't a
Oh,
hard ending, but knowing that your story could be picked up at any time and where it's going to continue and how it's going to relate to everything else going on in the world.
I can't imagine how like
That's got to be really hard to do.
that's what I can't imagine how that feels to the writers. Like I know like because when we talked to John about the whole thing with Shin Malphur, I mean he has the story written pretty much in his head. Like he said that he's got quite a bit of it written that we will probably never see. Like he has an ending that he knows where it goes, he knows what's going to happen and all that. Now whether or not we get to experience that in game is
It's a different story.
It's a different story, but like, you know, I can't imagine how that feels having writing a story and then, you know, not being able to see
Knowing that it's not going to be
the
finished.
closure of it.
Yeah.
I think that would be
It's got to be hard because that becomes your baby. You know, you want it to see it through to its end. So
There's that, and then there's the talent it takes to write a hook that is ended well enough to
yeah.
be
Oh God.
okay on its own, to stand alone, but also have that ability to
tie into
continue.
the rest of the story too, like
Not
tie
even
into the rest of the universe.
I mean, in some ways, there's still individualized stories, like the whole Iron Lord thing. If I remember right, it was Jill during the round table was talking about how she has stories about all the different Iron Lords in her
Yeah, that was
head,
Jill. That we'll
and
never see. It was
we'll never get those aspects.
because I think
want
that
to know.
was
That's
wasn't that about their names? I think she was talking about like how each one of them has like different meanings behind their names and stuff.
There's that, and then there was the aspect of like what's Peyrune doing, and how did her
Oh,
story
okay.
come to be, and where did these warlords come from? Like we may or may not ever get actual background stories to these characters, but there are plenty of those kind of characters that are fleshed out in these writers' heads. But they wrote their stories, the Iron Lord stories, in such a way where you're only going to get a snapshot. And you have to write that open ending to where, like with the Almighty, we had the closure with Gaul, but there's this Almighty sitting by the sun. What's going to happen with it? Well, this season we find out it's going to get hurled at us like a slingshot. So they have to be able to utilize what's still left open in the universe and create a new story with that as a primary hook, and that's I can't imagine having to do that. It
I
would
think
be a very
that's
difficult challenge.
oh yeah, and I think that is part of the reason why we see so many of these loose threads because when you have a team of writers and you know the team of writers is not consistent, which I mean no game has a consistent team of writers. They always change. That's just normal. But like, you know, when you have that going on, you have to give, you know, it's almost like I kind of am starting to see it almost like a professional courtesy of like, hey, here's here's a new writer. What, like, instead of making that new writer have to completely introduce a completely new character and a completely new hook and all this new stuff, they're like, here's a thread about this content. Why don't you, why don't you go down this road or something? You know, it's kind of like a icebreaker, I guess, if you will, for the new team. but then it also allows the older teams to, I mean, to me also the other thing that I just kind of thought of too is it also allows the other team to have the freedom to move around. If someone's writing on Fallen and they want to take time to write on Cabal, I don't know the functionality of the politics of how all this works. That's something internal politics that Bungie probably has figured out. But like if you have people who want to change stories, I could see that almost like being a way to allow that between the seasons, because we know that the narrative leads are seasonal. Because I know like John Toe was the narrative lead for Shadowkeep, and I just blanked on the dude's name or the name for Season of Unworthy, and then I know there's someone.
Guy wrote Black Armory's
Guy was Black Forge. Armory.
So was John.
Yeah. And they're like, but like, and I know when I talked with Guy, or whenever I talk with him and chat with him, he's always very clear that it is not like one person's leading it; it's a group effort. But it's like there is that kind of sense of, I guess, first among equals comes to mind. That concept.
It's more a collaborative thing, than,
right? Yeah.
One guy's telling everybody, this is the way it's going to be. You got to fit into my vision. It's more. It sounds like it's more.
It's more of like a big team get together. But but that to me makes the whole thing of the loose threads make more sense.
So leaving loose threads, leaving loose threads makes it easier for them to pick it up.
It makes it more seamless. Yeah, it makes it more seamless. But Green, do you think that's a good place to I kind of want to see if we have, I kind of want to put a call out for people if they're still listening and they're, they have their own theories. I would like to hear them. I want to see people's thoughts. And even if if we get enough people interested, I might put together like a small article on the website of different predictions.
Sure, that sounds like a good idea. I'll put a call out on Twitter, and we'll get that out there.
But are you good if we jump into shoutouts? All right, Gar, what shoutouts do you have for us?
Shoutouts
like big thank yous.
You guys, thank you for having me on the show.
Yes,
shout out to the guys I play with in my clan. I'm in one of the Dads of Destiny clans. Clan's one of the oldest ones that Dads of Destiny has. The only older one is the first Dads of Destiny clan. So shout out to the guys that put me through go through the raids and stuff with me and learn about all these cool lore stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Green, what about you?
Family for letting me play video games as much as
Shoutouts to the families who are very understanding during these times, because it's one of those difficult situations where everybody's in it together and your family may or may not be great at working together during the normal times, but this situation is definitely going to make you look at it a little more closely, and how you interact with your own family members and with other families. It's certainly an interesting time. So shout out to the family members of any gamer, podcaster, life coach, I don't know, just families are important. Be around your family.
Very patient with me with these I go on the podcasts, because I do one on Friday too. That's why I miss most of your guys' show. So
gotcha.
And for me, I just want a big shout out to everyone, kind of same as Green, the patience and everything, as everyone kind of figures out the new flow, or the new, as everyone's kind of referring to it as the new normal. It's a learning experience for everyone, and the patience has been really cool to see and to experience, and we have been on the receiving end of that patience, and it's much appreciated. But yeah, so I really that's kind of the extent of my shout out. And as always, I just wanted to thank you for your time. And until next time, remember, with wisdom we conquer. Stand strong, stand tall, and keep exploring. And I'm gonna find this drag and shoot him in the face. There he is. I was trying to do an outro, and Mr. Drag did not want that to happen. Okay. Green, you still... How's your Discord holding up?
What do you mean?
Is it still
having problems?
staying steady?
It's being wonky.
Okay. Do you want to try to do another one, or do you think that was a good?
I mean, what more do you want to go over?
I think
we covered in a roundabout way. We covered, like, I'm not just looking at the notes. Like, I think we covered a lot of stuff.
Stealth.
Mm-hmm.
But the only other thing,
in a roundabout way, we covered a lot of the things you wanted to talk about. So.
Yeah, the only thing I was gonna say is, like, I mean, I am curious what other people's thoughts are, like what their hopes are, like what you were asking about the different threads and stuff, Green. I'm also curious what other people would like to see as far as, like, I'm curious what people want to see as far as, like, change in mechanics. You know, like, Destiny has existed as it stands for a good while. So are there any changes that people were hoping for that would be something in the lore? You know, like that's, to me, that would be the only other thing. And I'm kind of asking chat too. You know, that's a question directed at chat as much as it's directed to anybody. Because to me, that's where I think a lot of possibilities are stuck, I guess would be the best word. Like, you know, like they can't go any further because the mechanics doesn't allow it or whatever. Like, I don't know how you would get around doing a faction rally of importance within the Destiny community or Destiny world, because there isn't really a point to the factions currently.
Yeah. So for me, I agree with Doom in chat. I'd like to see outside of the solar system, because, you know, we've been stuck and we've heard of things outside of it. You know, we've heard of the Cabal Empire and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go out there. I don't know if it's feasible, but the other thing is, like, I'd like to see that got kicked out of the city from the consensus, right?
Oh yeah, Lysander.
I'd like to see that stuff because they're around somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And threads still, even recently, you know, there's been lore threads that refer to that group.
Oh yeah, the Concordat.
You know, the Kentark 3. Yeah, the Concordat. You know, the Kentark 3, the group that sent them there, is kind of tied into that whole thing. Like, mechanic wise, I don't know. I see this stupid stomp mechanic go away. But I'd like to see some new enemies. That would be, and I think getting outside of the solar system would lend to seeing things, right? Commander was a guardian because he was one of the factions that the Concordat fought against, and he got kicked out of the city. Him and his group got kicked out. So I think, like, lore tied into mechanics, getting outside the solar system with different.
Yeah, Doom's bringing up the group with Aphrodite, because Aphrodite's
Aphrodite, yeah, where's
the
her group
pacifist
in all this stuff? You know, where are they hiding out? Because we've seen most of the solar system. Run into them at some point.
Green.
I can't see us killing Aphrodite's group. That would
no, not at all.
I don't see that ever happening. But I think the biggest mechanic change that could be tied in Earthing would be some new enemies, whether they are coming into the go out and meet them. I would be more than happy to see that than them coming in and messing up the solar system even more. Locales that don't really match what we have in real life. We've already seen these locations for how long now? Answer that question. I think that's what you were asking.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that'd be interesting. Black Flag.
That would be cool. I think we could get something like that if we get more tie-in with Mithrax and the House of Light, because we already know that his fire team is jealous that us. Right?
Yeah, because they're just nervous. They're nervous because the predominant response to guard or to the fallen is not a positive one, which again, that was kind of my curiosity, is like, what happens if the fallen are allowed, let's say Saint 14 reaches a treaty with them, or whatever. I'm curious to see how that would play out with the whole thing, because of the stigma that they have, does that mean that they would be allowed within city? Like there's a whole subcategory of like fantasy, high fantasy stuff, like the elves and the half elves and how they're treated from a social standpoint. And it would be really interesting to see that play out in the sci-fi community. Yeah,
because there'd be so much prejudice and stuff for them to fight through. Yeah, that would be very interesting to see. I like that take on it, Neo. Coming in, is it impacting the pacifists' colony?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they going to get involved now that the ships are here? Because entire solar system, not just us. It's going to hit everything. That would be a cool one. But my big thing is I just want to see some new enemies. I'm tired of fighting the same thing over and over again. Yes, they were new, but we're still fighting the same things over and over again. So.
That'd be an alliance with House Light, Judgment Dusk, Devils, and Scorner still. Well, House Judgment is
Devils is gone, aren't they?
Devils is
tied into
mostly
Dusk,
gone.
They?
Aramis is
she's still around.
I think it's Aramis.
And is she still around? Because I know there was that back and forth during the 0 hour stuff. House Judgment is Varix and wherever he went. And who knows if he recruited
Varix is kind of I kind of took that Varix was abandoning was abandoning Judgment to announce himself as Kell of Kells.
Of Kells. Yeah, but he was gonna, it seemed to me like he was using the flag of House Judgment to do that.
That's true, actually. I don't know. Because Dusk kind of
he took off
all the. Yeah, the last we heard we haven't heard anything, I think, from him since that point.
But he was declaring himself Kell of Kells, is what he was doing.
Correct, yeah.
And to bring back the old way of the Elixir. So
Yeah, okay, Neo and Trigger, yeah. Aramis was devils. I couldn't remember if Aramis was devils or wolves.
and she was devils. She was
Yeah.
devils. He was the one in charge of the. She in charge of the
last, I
Invisible
think,
Dukes.
I don't remember that was the Silent Fang, because the Silent Fang was kind of like an independent assassins group, if I remember that correctly. I can't remember if Aramis was. Because Siva, she's.
She tied into Siva. I thought she was one of the ones that stayed pure and didn't like the fact that it corrupted.
She, I don't think she's trying. I think she's not trying to use Siva in the same way as Axis and I can never remember the dude's name. The Vostok. I can't remember. But she, I think, using him as a tool because she's also trying to get just the technology. Eric's took the. Yeah, that's true. Black Flag. He took the ether.
And he became a Kel.
Oh, that's right, because he has the Elder Cipher. I forgot about that. Yeah. So he kind of does.
So he has the more legitimate claim to be the Kel of Kells than anybody else right now.
Yeah, he has one of the ciphers that allows him to distribute ether out among people.
And doesn't he have a prime servitor with him too?
No, I don't think he has a prime servitor with him. He used to be the prime archon or archon prime for, or one of the archons for. Oh God, what was the? I can't remember the.
His house. He was always House Judgment. Right?
He was House Judgment, but he was an archon. And he has House Rain's prophecies, but he and Fickrel were companions. And I can't remember who Fickrel was.
Well, Fickrel was he was an archon before he got turned into.
So was
I don't think Varix was an archon. Varix wasn't an archon. He was just a House Judgment lore keeper or record keeper or whatever.
I know.
We killed Wolves Prime. We killed Wolves Prime.
Yeah.
We've killed all the primes.
The current ones standing. That's part of the reason Dusk even came into existence, was because we jacked up
all the rest of them,
the hierarchy so badly, which is kind of the reason why the Red Legion came in too, was because we did the same thing to the Cabal.
So he's her people, but that was still Dusk's under House Dusk, not the Devils. And that's what Mithrax was pretending to be, the 0 Hour mission.
Yeah, so Mithrax was with Dusk up until very recently.
Varix was a scribe, Fickrel was an archon, and then a group of guardians killed him, and that's how Aldrin found him. That's how that went. Because Varix still had his arms docked.
Yes, because and I think if I remember that was from when he was with the Wolves. Because that was one of the.
Well, Varix is now Kells because he has the Elder Cipher and the Ether to.
Well, he's making a claim. He's one of the 3, I think they said, legitimate ones.
There's only 3, yeah.
It's Aramis, Mithrax, and Varix currently. Because they credit that Fickrel is a viable threat, but he's not.
Fickrel, they don't consider him listening anymore.
Yeah, Fickrel by no means wants to be assumed to be anything with the.
And they want to keep it here, and he's not considered Elixir anymore because he's dead. To them, he's dead.
Right.
Because his prime. Well,
died. that and Fickrel, I don't even think Fickrel would. Yeah, Fickrel wants all fallen dead, anyways. Like I don't think he wants.
Well, Fickrel wants all fallen to be scorned. He doesn't want the Elixir to be, because then that way he can't control them if they're not scorned. keeps getting resurrected through the Dark Ether.
Which is another connection cool. to Riven.
Yeah, well, I thought it was kind of cool because that explains why we keep doing the strike, right? Because he knows that he keeps getting killed by us, and he knows that he keeps getting resurrected. So,
yep, that's what happens with the Ahamkara cool. wish.
Yep.
All right.
When you don't understand, you're making an Ahamkara wish.
Yeah. Well, stream, we will see you guys next. Ow! Just got disoriented by that. See you guys next week. And like I said, if you guys have thoughts on the theory or, ideas of where the story is going to go, please let me know, because I really would be curious to see what your guys' thoughts are on that, whether it's through email, through Discord, or what have you. I know Green will put out a call on Twitter as well. I think she put out a question.
He did earlier
on Twitter, but I know it. So like we'll get that out. Trigger. I think that's the next question too.
Trigger. That's what I've been hoping for a long time. I love the Fallen stuff as well as all the Swarmline stuff. So I'd love to see something more.
But all right, guys, you guys have a great night. We will see you next week. Yeah. Bye.